Oh yeah, I can't chat. I can't chime in the chat, can I? Yeah. Okay.
All right. It looks like because I didn't set up that buffer that Mike normally does. Guys, Mike's not here tonight, but I got a different mic. I upgraded. I got Mike Guigliano from the Full 42.
I don't know about an upgrade. Hold on.
I could spend the first hour of this show running through your accolades, but I'll spare everybody all of that. And I will just say that if you are anywhere in New York, the great state of New York, you need to look up QSCon because this is the man. If you are a nerd outside of board games, you love Star Wars, Star Trek, anything like that, Marvel, you need to check out the Full 42. They also, I mean, they do board games primarily, I guess, but you guys, you cover all the other nerdy stuff that I love. And Andrew, yeah, we didn't even do the opening. Hey, guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
Yeah, and this is the Board Game Rundown. We're doing our Whiskey Wednesday live stream. Yeah, we're all discombobulated because Mike is not feeling good.
And yeah, so hopefully Mike's feeling better. I'm happy to be on the show again. Whether or not you want to say it's an upgrade, I'm happy to be standing in for another Mike and to join you again. We had a great time last time, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. And to be fair, we had actually I railroaded Mike on his own show, publicly asked him to come on to ours, so he couldn't say no. Otherwise, he'd look like a jerk. And then I don't know if Mike got intimidated or if he was legit just not feeling good. But we're going to take all the cheap shots at him we can while he is resting and getting well. And so, yeah, you're not going to get all the fun bumpers and everything because Mike controls all of that normally. And I was too lazy to go through and figure out how he does it. Full disclosure. But you will then see and appreciate all the things that Mike does bring to the show. But tonight we are going to be doing top 5 meanest games. And in addition, we'll, you know how it is, guys. We're going to be all over the map. We're going to be in and out of the comments with y'all. We're going to, maybe get into, whatever 90s, 80s, 70s music hole that we will go down into. Yep. As what happened last time Mike came on and hung out with us. I got to ask you, Mike, because you're a Rangers fan, how excited are you about the Patrick Kane trade?
I'm excited. I'm excited that Kaner's a Ranger. I'm excited that it's fucking over. It seemed like it was such a distraction to the team, probably with Chicago as well.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that it's over. And now, trade deadline still Friday. So maybe Drury will pull off a couple things. But we didn't give up too much. We are renting him because, there's no guarantee signing with us again for next year. Hopefully he does. He had a no trade clause that he waived for New York. So it seemed like that was the only place he really wanted to come. So I'm excited.
He wants to go and win. He's not going to do it in Chicago this year, next year, or the year after. You know what I mean? So he wants to go where he can compete. I respect it. He did a lot for the city of Chicago. I appreciate that.
3 cups?
Yeah, 3. And as a fan of the Blackhawks, because I'm a fan of Chicago teams other than the White Sox, I hate the White Sox, but whatever. But no,
here's a fun fact about the White Sox. You ready for this? I don't know if I mentioned it on the last show. Richard Lanius, my co-designer on the Batman game, he won the contest and designed that White Sox logo with the batter.
No way.
Yeah, that's his design. He submitted it to a contest. It was like mid 80s, I think, maybe early 80s. He submitted. There was a contest. He submitted his design, and there's a picture of him and on the field and that whole uniform, that whole layout. That was Lanius.
That's insane.
Yeah, if you Google a picture of that whole thing, you'll see a really young Richard Lanius from like original Arkham Horror days, right? Like 1987, mid 80s. Like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, could you imagine if a well-known board game designer won a logo design contest now? It'd be crazy news. Back then, it's like, he had a very successful game at that point, right? But
well, it depends on. I forget what year it was because Arkham was 87, and he had been designing prior too. But
sure,
I don't know how early 80s that logo was done. So maybe Alan, hey, buddy. Good to see you.
He's hanging out with us tonight. We got a guy we brought over. I think he's trying to get me to send Nightmare Productions down to Florida so that he can get it shipped over to him, and I don't blame him because we're doing this this giveaway, and we pick randomly from the comments, right? And we basically give you a week to like reach out to us, so we can get your address and we'll send it to you. And 1 week passed, the first person who we drew didn't reach out to us, so we drew another name last Thursday. That person has yet to reach out. They got till tomorrow. And so I mean, it's a Nightmare Productions is a reprint of the Reiner Knizia Hollywood blockbuster game. So it's like an auction game, and you're trying to make movies. So in the original version, you would do it with like, I think there was even a version that had names, like named Hollywood stars in it, like Golden Age, so it'd been like Clark Gable and things like that. So in this one now, it's just sort of like generic movie monsters, and you've got like, but it's really fun. It's really good. Classic game.
Send it to Alan.
But yeah, I know he's trying. Alan, did you comment on Alan, you just got to comment on the video and you're entered to win. It's the Nightmare Productions giveaway. For
those that don't know, Alan is from Costa Rica, and he flew by himself to Syracuse, New York to attend his first board game convention, which was QsCon. So I'm always on. Alan's a great guy.
I need to get on his good side, because I saw the gifts he sent y'all, which is amazing. Yeah. I got mine from my sister, which is also great, but it's just really cool when you meet really nice, awesome people through the hobby.
That's the hobby. We had ended up talking about it a lot on the last show too, but the hobby itself is 98% just amazing people because of its nature, right? Inviting strangers to the table to experience something that's typically at least an hour, right? Yeah, you can play a party game half hour, whatever, but that intimate setting of being close at a table with someone you don't need, like, hey, you're looking for a game, come play.
Yeah.
It's such an inviting hobby. And the majority of the people that I've met in the short amount of time that I've been involved, it's just absolutely amazing.
It's crazy, man, because I mean, it can be whether you're at a convention, it could be, you're at a game store, it could be you're inviting people to your home, you know what I mean? And you get to know people like real quick because board games, whatever game you're playing, it brings out a lot of different aspects of people's personalities. I know so many like introverted and shy people that if you saw them at a game night, you would never know that they have like social anxiety, you know what I mean? Or don't like, meeting strangers, but board games for whatever reason, just like they bridge that gap. You can just bring people out of their shell. I've seen people just flourish. I mean, I myself, you just be able to come out and be you and have a good time. Yeah.
Play Happy Salmon with a bunch of people.
Dude.
Play Happy Salmon. Say, look, this is Happy Salmon. There's 4 actions. Hooting, hollering. You can even play the silent variant where people, you're not talking, but you're running around the table. Man, it'll get people. And you play it up to 8 people. Like, it's just fun.
See, finally I got somebody on here that gets me, because they all give me a hard time because I love Happy Salmon. And I'm like, screw you guys.
It's hysterical.
It's so stupid and fun. I mean, what else do you want? I
could see it being annoying, right? When you're trying to play a heavy game in the middle of a convention room, and all of a sudden there's this fucking uproar about people and they're chanting, which could last. I mean, it doesn't seem like a long time, but a minute and a half to 2 minutes of just constant yelling is distracting. So I get it, right? But man, the game's so much. It's such an icebreaker. It's just fun. It's a great convention game.
You get your blood pumping a little bit. You're moving around. It's like I like games like that, or like Rhino Hero is a really fun convention game because you get it stacking up, and people are like, you get a crowd standing around you as you're standing on a chair, trying to stack up another card. It's I don't know. I love that stuff. I love those stupid games. I mean, I love my heavy games too, but sometimes I just want to, goof around.
Yeah, we were talking about, we're on the QsCon Discord. One of the Discords, was it Nate? Someone had mentioned like every game has its place depending on where you are, what you're playing, who you're with. But those kind of games are like palate cleansers, right? Like, your mind is just exploded with like this heavy spelled Euro, right? You're playing Bora Bora and your mind is just on the table. And then you play Happy Salmon and you're just like, it's like smelling the coffee beans in between.
Like,
you're just, okay, I'm good. Let's play something else. Like, it's just
I'm ready. Yeah, you're not playing Happy Salmon for an hour. I
mean, you could.
You could. And I'm not going to judge you.
Sure.
But I probably would move along
Sure.
after a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got my stupid neoprene fish right over here on my shelf. I love it.
Yeah,
I take it to game nights. I don't care.
I hate that they changed the box. There's the first buffer. Okay, so drink when he buffers. Is that what we're doing? Is that the game? Buffer number 1. And for those that are following along, Crown Royal Vanilla.
Oh yeah, we got to talk
something
about.
to drink every time you buffer. It'll be really.
Lord have mercy.
Yep.
I accept no responsibilities for anything that happens.
Awesome. To you. Awesome. That's great. Yeah. So before you buffer, I don't have my copy handy. I hate that they changed the box. I hate it.
Yeah, because now it's just in like a box, right?
Now it's just in a box. Yeah.
That's boring.
Yeah. I don't know. Whoever bought it now and decided to change. I get it, right? Shelf space, but the salmon and the 2 different color salmon, the green and the blue, so you can combine them and have. It was just cool. Yeah,
I've got my green fish over there. It used to be like North Star Games, but somebody else has them now, so I forget who.
I want to say it's Asmodee because they just buy.
Everything. They have everything. They're
going to buy you soon, so be careful.
Man, that'll be awesome. Right? Maybe they fly me to Spiel, like going out to Essen and do all that good stuff.
Great.
But all right, so we have top 5 meanest games. Mike was not you, Mike. Mike Rice, our host, Mike. He was a little nervous about this list at first. He's like, I don't know, I don't play a lot of mean games, and I'm like, maybe you should, just a couple. You don't have to like live and die for them, but I mean, there's some games I like. I think some people can interpret competitive games as mean games, but I don't mind. I don't mind that. I guess I get it. Somebody in our Discord, and I'm like, he's right, but I wouldn't call it a mean game. He called Ticket to Ride a mean game because I guess you can hate draft, you could block, routes and things like that. But I went for me.
There we go. That's the way to cut it off right at that exact moment. Perfect timing. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to interpretation for those that are still with me. Interpretation of what a mean game is. Is the game mean, or does the game afford you the ability to be mean in a game? You cut off right when you were about to announce what you were doing. So.
Oh yeah, no, I was just talking like it's just Ticket to Ride's not on my list. I have meaner games than that. I have games that more are direct, like player interaction things that people can interpret as mean. But that's pretty much that's how I've got. Are you ready to start? You want to jump into it?
Yeah, I had an interesting on the QSCon Discord. I brought up that I was going to be on the show and that it was mean. The theme was mean games. And it's interesting because you can interpret it 2 different ways. You can interpret it that the game is mean, or it affords the players the ability to be mean. Right? So I'm curious to see how the list is. I have my list. But I'm curious to see how the list goes. Not on my list, and for example purposes, are Sagrada and Mansions of Madness. Mansions of Madness, the game is mean, right? Like it's specifically out to screw you. And the person who's running the house or the app, depending on how you play it, is directly trying to screw you over. So it's a mean game because I don't need this card to come up or I need this, and it never fucking happens.
It's smacking you around, yeah.
But to your point before about hate drafting, Sagrada, if I've figured out that you're like the red player and I see a red 6, I'm taking 6 points away from you. I might not need it for me, but I can take it away from you and I have a spot for it. You can specifically hate draft points away from people. And then if you're looking at their board and you're like, they only have room for a blue and a green, and there's a blue, green, yellow in the pool, I'm taking the fucking, or they can't place a blue and a green.
Right.
They can only place the yellow. I'm taking the
yellow. Yeah.
How mean is that move, right? But the game, I wouldn't say Sagrada is a mean game, but it affords the ability to be mean to other players.
Sure.
So I'm curious to see. It created an interesting conversation. I'm curious to see how it goes, how it lays out.
So one that I was going to say, and I changed my mind because I added a different game instead, is I was going to say Foundations of Rome, because Foundations of Rome can be mean, for a similar reason, where you're either drafting plots that you don't necessarily need, or if you're using the mechanic that I personally hate, where it's like, oh, here's a victory point while I take the property that you haven't built on yet. And it's like, well, screw you, because that's more than just the couple of point, swing, that originally was pitched to me as like, well, it's only like you're getting 4 points. It's like, well, it doesn't matter if you're getting 20.
Right.
Four points is nothing.
Yeah.
You've now set up like a big old combo that it does me no good.
Yeah, it's a good pat on the back. Here you go. Take your 4 points.
Yeah, that's like a middle finger. Like, okay, screw you, get out of here. I'm done with it. So, but it is, and I don't even mind mean games, but that was one of the turnoffs for me with Foundations of Rome. I know I'm in the minority. A lot of people love it. I get it. And listen, like, I'm not going to tell you that the game you love is terrible. It's, so, it's everybody likes what they like, so I will tell you my thoughts as somebody that, created a platform for them to stand on their soapbox and say their thoughts, but that's all they are. And you can take them for what, they are.
Perfect.
But so I'm going to start off with the most obvious one, and it's Munchkin. Munchkin is the OG, mean game, and it's mean deliberately, because you have to be mean to the other players to actively prevent them from winning so you can win. You can't passively win Munchkin. You have to interfere and sabotage other people's other people's games so that you can win. And it's mean, and I'm fine with that. I enjoy Munchkin every once in a while. I'm not the guy that's like beating the drum trying to organize Munchkin night, but I've got a couple different versions of Munchkin, and I enjoy the jokes and the cheekiness of it. Sure. I think Marvel Munchkin's actually pretty fun and interesting to see, like, how you combine, your powers and things like that. But Munchkin is my number 5.
So Munchkin is also on my list, and I slashed it with Killer Bunnies. If you've ever played Killer Bunnies.
Yeah.
It's got the same kind of feel to it, right? But that's a great example of a game when you're playing Munchkin, you're going to get backstabbed. Like, it's just going to happen. So I don't think there he is.
Yeah. Somebody.
I mean, that's not true. That's not true.
We knew Chris was going to crap on Arkham Horror if he came over. So
you just that's one of the co-hosts of the Full 42 is Chris.
Another reason to go over there and watch, because Chris is a good guy too. Lots of knowledge. And and he's wrong about stuff, so you can go over there and tell him.
And it's okay to be wrong, Chris. It's fine. So going into that type of game, right? That's affording the player to be me. I don't have to backstab you, but if I want to win, I can't let you destroy this monster, so I'm going to +10 it. And it feels bad when you're like right there and you're going to win and someone's just screwing you over. Like, that's that type of game. Killer Bunnies is the same thing, but you can literally take somebody out of the game where they don't even score. Right? If they don't have the right thing at the end of the game, they're not even in it. So you could actually, I think it's worse than Munchkin. Not worse as a game, meaner than Munchkin.
Yeah, sure. Right. Just because of the shutdown, the way you're able to completely like blank somebody out.
You play the whole game and then you can't even score points at the end.
Yeah, the Arkham LCG is tough, but that is a game that is mean to you. That's sort of like Mike's example with Betrayal. The house. Ghost Stories is another game like that. That is a game that will just beat the tar out of you mercilessly.
Brutal. Yeah, I don't think I've played that game so many times. I don't think I've ever won, but it's so much fun. You always want to play it, right? I just noticed Shannon's in the chat too. Shannon, thanks for coming along. Good to see. Right. It's good to see other people here than I know.
Yeah, I see Shannon around on all the different. We're in all the same Facebook groups. I love it.
Shannon's great.
So
All right. So I'll go with my number 5. And so there's, for me, the way I looked at this list, again, there's those games that are mean, and there's those games that afford people the ability to be mean. But I also think there are games that, and I don't think you should play with these kind of people. But there's 2 things in games that can be mean. One is Kingmaker. If you're not in the game and you can take that action that's just going to screw somebody over, that's mean. But also, the Kingmaker and what's the other one? I just lost it. The Kingmaker. I had 2 good examples. It'll come back to me. Anyway, I'm going to go with, and this is going to hurt for some people, and I love this game, Lords of Waterdeep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
I
not a
love Lords of
mean
Waterdeep,
game, but you can be mean in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in the mandatory quest, which on the last turn, when you have a 40-point thing you want to do and someone drops a mandatory on you, it sucks. It's awful. But like if you're playing base game and the right buildings or in the wrong buildings come out, you only got one spot to get a white cube.
Right.
Depending on what you have, and I know you're looking for white because there's no hidden information other than your lord. I'm going to take the player and go to the plinth and take the white cube, and you can't get it. And I can choke you out of purple really easily. Black and orange a little harder, but you can choke people out of those cubes or warriors and mages, whatever you want to call them. And it can be really like just stop doing what you're doing. It's mean. Yeah.
Chris doesn't like any of the games I like, I guess. Because I like Lords of Waterdeep quite a deep. I love Lords of Waterdeep. It's really
Chris
good.
is asking for troubles. Replace Waterdeep for me because it's got that bumping. Really cool choices, but it's got that bumping mechanism. It's overall, it's very similar, right? You go someplace, you get some resources, you use your resources to capture the troubles, and then you sacrifice the troubles to get points. But Waterdeep, and I love Waterdeep, and I will never play base game without the expansions. I think the expansions are easy to get into.
Agreed.
Just throw them on the board. There's the corruption can be the biggest hurdle. But man, that game can be brutal.
Yeah, it's mean. It's mean. Oh, I just looked over and saw Chris. Okay.
You just looked over and saw Chris. That's a weird comment to get frozen on. I didn't think Chris is in not in the same state as you. Oh, well, like Chris said in the chat, the mandatory quests suck. It was really weird. You froze on. I looked over and saw Chris.
Yeah. And then I froze and made a weird face. It was like I saw Medusa and like I'm now in stone, right?
He has that effect on people.
He does. It's the snake tattoos on the side of his head.
The side of the head.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I owe 2 drinks because you frozen twice.
You did. You do. Yeah. So what was your number?
Good game. The mandatory quests can screw you, but there is also that ability to choke people out of the cube they need.
Right.
So it's not just a mandatory quest. It is like, I know you need white. I have the ability. If you don't go to white, you're giving me the opportunity to just block you out of white again, and you can never fulfill those quests. And then you're you're trying to get the new quest, and you're cycling through the quests, and the right ones aren't coming up. It just, you could really choke somebody out of that.
And there's ways also, right? When you're using the expansion, there's ways to give guys the corruption, and things like that, which I love doing. I think that's great. You're either running, as much corruption as you can, or you're, just to hand it out to everybody else.
Yep.
And then the trick is to get the open lord intrigue card. So you just reveal, then you can't be given mandatory quests, which is also nice.
Yep.
And
there are people take the mandatory quests out, and whatever, you do what you want with your games. But if you're familiar with Waterdeep and the way it plays, and you haven't checked out Chris's Troubles game, I would check it out because it's got a very similar feel, and the bumping mechanism, like you have a certain amount of ships, and if you don't have any more ships, those are your actions. You have to call your fleet back, and that's your turn. But if you go to a place, like if I go to a spot where Tim is, Tim gets that ship back, which then gives him an extended turn. So it's a really cool give and take in that game that I think.
I like that. Yeah.
It's fun. It's really fun. I'm biased, obviously.
Oh, sure.
Before the show happened, like back when that was first out, that game was, and you could watch the show and I talk about it all the time. That game was one of my favorites before I even knew Chris.
Well, that's sort of like a soft block, right? Because you're not actually blocked from taking the action, but you might be like, nah, I don't want to give him another turn. Like, it's just not worth giving him another action. Yeah, I like that choice.
You're never choking somebody out of something. Where in Waterdeep, I can not only give you the mandatory quest, but stop you from getting the purple and the white, like with just one action, and you're done for another whole turn. Like,
because if you've got 2 people going for like clerics quests or whatever, and you can't get the white, and you're just like, you got to be kidding me.
Yep.
And then you got to go and get a bunch of other quests, even though you're not going to get a bonus, because of your lord or whatever, right? So I get it.
Yeah, because you can cycle the quest, and the quests don't come out in your favor. And then you're looking at the buildings, and the buildings aren't in your favor. So you build a building to get a new building, but that's not going to help you either. But you can go the entire game with only one spot to have a white. And man, it's tough.
That's mean. Ugh. Man, I didn't realize how sneaky me and Lords of Waterdeep was. That's your 5? That's your number 5? That's a good one.
It's one of my 5.
Sure.
As you know, mine are never ranked.
See, now, like what I usually do is I write down my list and then I just read them off in the order I feel like reading them off in.
That's
And
what I do.
one of my co-hosts, when we do like top 10 lists, Dan, he hates that because he's like, well, that's not a real top 10 list. I'm like, my top 10 list could change at it just depends on when
Sure.
in the day you walk up to me
Yep.
and what mood I'm in. I'm, mercurial like that, I guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I get it, man. I respect that. All right, let's go to our number four. Number four, meanest games.
Do it.
Man, which one of these juicy games to pick? I'm gonna pick Downfall of Pompeii.
Good one.
This is an underrated game that I absolutely love, and I would just wish everybody played and loved this game as much as I do.
Good one.
Downfall of Pompeii. You spend the first half of the board basically seeding the board with your citizens of your color and in the different buildings around the city of Pompeii, and eventually you're going to start drawing these omen cards, and then the volcano is going to erupt. Once the volcano erupts, everybody is now fleeing the city, and on your turn, you're basically reaching this bag. You're going to draw out a tile. It's got to have an icon on it. That's basically going to tell you in what part of town you can play that, and it's got to be connected to another piece of lava, And so you're burning up. If you place that tile on some people's citizens, they burn up, they go in the volcano. And if you can block off exits to the city, and then they can't get out, you've got to get them to, go out a different way. You can even move. The way that you move is like you pick up a cube and they move as many spaces as there were cubes in that spot, right? So if there were 3 cubes in a spot and I'm going to pull 1 cube out of there, you can move 3 spaces. But that means the next cube can only move 2 spaces. And you can really like jack somebody's like escape plans just by moving a guy, like, oh, now I can't get out, and then, with placing the tiles, it's so mean. And I also gleefully throw my opponent's cubes in the volcano, make little screaming noises, rub it in as much as I can. Ah!
There, yeah.
And yeah, so Downfall of my Pompeii is I guess my number 4. At least it is tonight. And man, I love that game. It's mean, but I feel like it is in good spirits and good fun. I've seen people get salty about it. Oh, really me? What about all of those? Hey, man, it's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get out over there. Sorry, this is it. This
Yep.
is it. You get the short straw.
Don't play Pompeii with that person again.
Yeah, they just don't play with me. It's on them.
Yeah,
they know how I'm gonna play.
Sure.
Play to win. But yeah, I love Downfall of Pompeii. It's a really fun game, and it always shows up like really cheap, like randomly. So like weird online sales every once in a while, you can find it for $15-20. If you ever see it, I mean, it's worth retail. I will say it's worth retail, but you find it cheap, just scoop it up. It's a super fun game, fun, and it plays fast. I mean, it's like an hour, if that, So
yeah, it's not hard to learn. It's not hard to teach. You can get up and running pretty quickly. Yeah, definitely worth picking up.
Yeah, yep. I like Downfall quite a bit. All right, Mike, what do you got for me? What's number 4?
I am going to stick with the whole dying meeples thing from Pompeii. I'm going to go with Survive, Escape from Atlantis.
This could have been on my list. Yeah, this can be real mean.
Right?
This can be mean. Yeah.
Like you literally are collapsing tiles that have other You're never going to take the one that your meeples are on.
Right.
So you're going to take tiles from your opponent's meeples, throw them in the water, and you're going to do the one that's kind of closest to the whale or closest to the shark, or just going to mess with people. Yeah, Suro can be brutal as well. Yeah. Survive. Even the base game, Survive Atlantis, it's fun, and it seems like it's just going to be a fun romp through, these tiles. But man, it could be mean, right? You could piss some people off real easy.
Yeah. I've been on the bad end of. Well, we played. It's the space one, but it's the same game, essentially. Yeah. But yeah, I've been on the wrong end of some tiles falling off of that space station, not getting off on time, and it's oh, it hurts. It hurts.
There's a local studio, Kinsole Studios. It's a half hour from Syracuse. They pulled their Kickstarter. They're relaunching soon. They have a game called Undermine, and it's this whole IP that one person had created. It's got a very Survive feel to it, where you're going through and you're mining this asteroid of gems and precious metals and whatever. and they're hex tiles, and you could dig down. It's stacked up, rather, whatever. One of the abilities you can do is to push somebody, and you could push them into the lava, which doesn't necessarily kill them because they're tough, the creatures. But you restart and you lose your stuff, and it can be mean.
Oh, right.
Exactly the same thing happens. Like,
Right.
well, what about them? They have a bag full of stuff. You're going to pick on me. Yeah, you're closer. I'm just going to knock you into lava.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that diamond and I'm going to run and get 10 points. Like, it's got that kind of feel to it. But stepping to the table, knowing that you're going to get that kind of backstabbery, if people are going to get hurt about it, like, maybe this isn't the game for you. But again, that's a game affording the ability to be mean for the player, not necessarily the game is a mean game, because you don't have to be aggressive. You can just play your game.
Nix, I will tell you, sit tight. I will tell you the name of that game. It's Lifeboat pretty soon because it's on my list.
It's literally in your text there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you said the name of the game while you're talking about it. But yeah, Undermine sounds kind of cool, man. I think I would. I'm gonna need to check that out.
Undermine. They've been bringing it to QSCon Tuesdays for a while, and we all loved it. And then it hit Kickstarter, and I think they need to. It's heavy because of all the hexes. 109 hexes in there, I think.
Oh wow!
They just need to renegotiate shipping because shipping containers were bonkers. So they're redoing it. But yeah, it's really, when you come to QSCon in September, they'll have it there.
Dude, I have to get to QSCon. It's I can drive there. It's not like I got to get on a plane or anything.
No, you're good. I mean, you can, but yeah, you could drive.
I mean, I could. That's boring. That's boring. Yeah, I want to go.
Shannon will be there. My co-host will be there. It'll be fun.
I mean, there's not really a good reason not to, right?
Oh, I agree. Now you know Undermine will be there, so you have to be. I think Alan might be coming back, hopefully.
Yeah, he said he said something about it. So yeah, that would be very cool. That would be very cool. You know, that's funny, Brian. You said that about Everdell. Everdell can get a little mean for such a cutesy little game, and I just in the last 5 months discovered. I mean, not discovered Everdell, but finally played it. And then immediately traded for a copy of it, and my family loves it. We play the crap out of it.
And it's got so much content now, right? With all the world book and all the stuff that they've added to it, it's great.
Yeah, when I traded, I got a bunch of the expansions for it because I don't know, I forget if he got the big box one and then just got rid of his other stuff, or he just didn't want it anymore. But whatever, he got a game he wanted. I traded my Tidal Blades, which I wasn't getting played. And I got a game that I'm now getting played. So, that's the point, right? Everybody's happy.
Sure. Straight up.
Wait. So Chris doesn't like QSCon, huh? Oh,
I mean, he's never been. So this will be his first year.
I see.
He can say what he wants.
Oh, Chris, I love Tyrants of the Underdark. That is a really good game. I didn't put it on my list. I don't know why. I almost always put games that I own on my list. And I don't own Tyrants of Underdark. I really want a first edition copy of that because I heard second edition production isn't as good. And not that you need amazing production value in every single game, but if I know there's two versions and one is better, I will just hold out and get the better version. But yeah, Tyrants of Underdark, man, that's a really good game. I enjoy that quite a bit. And longtime Niner fan. I'm wondering what is your preferred football team, but I've never played the Estates, but I've heard of it. Yeah, Shannon, King of Tokyo. My daughter is really mean when we play King of Tokyo, but it's not on my list. I mean, it is direct player conflict, right? You can literally only attack the players that are, the player that is at the King of the Hill, right?
And the King of the Hill is attacking all of the players around.
Attacking everybody. So the choice is taken out of your hands. Right. You literally have to attack them or be attacked.
Yeah. That's as you're frozen, that's a good example of the game being a mean game. The actions are curtailing the action, the hate. You don't choose to attack. It's the game is making me attack. I don't have a choice.
That's a drink you owe me now because I buffered again. At your leisure, sir. Hey, Willie, I thought about putting Arboretum on the list because I love it. I love Arboretum.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's on Mike's list, but it is not on mine. I'll tell you that. And
it is not on mine, although it is a good meme.
Oh, game. I love it. It's so deceptively mean, because you look at this box, like this beautiful box and this really nice artwork, and you're like, oh, we're just, I'm just planting these trees and stuff, and it gets so mean so fast. I love it. I love it. All right, well, I'm going to go into my number 3. In my number 3, I'm going to go with Lifeboat, because we're talking about Lifeboat, right? Everybody's talking about Lifeboat.
There you go.
Trevor, you're right. My buffering is mean to everybody's liver
Serious.
and their eyes. But Lifeboat, I mean, you are literally, I forget, it can play up to 6, I think 5 or 6.
Yeah,
and you're literally positioned. You lay out you're positioned in the lifeboat, and then you have a secret, like, I like this person, I hate this person, and you literally can knock somebody out of the lifeboat and then throw chum in the water so they get attacked by a shark. So it is I mean, it is a mean game personified. I mean you are being nice to some people, but man, when who is actively trying to get rid of you, and that's the person that you need to keep alive, it's tough. It's really tough.
Oh, yeah.
But I really like Lifeboat. It's a lot of fun. Again, though, for me, it's like the right group of people, because if you're going to play with somebody that's going to get butthurt and cranky about it, it's like just
great time to buffer after that comment. That was good. It's also those people you don't play with, right? You give them a shot, and if you realize that they just don't fit with the group, or they fit at your table, or you just don't mesh in the type of game, just don't play with them again.
Yeah. Butthurt. I love it when I buffer right after I say butthurt. That's like the best.
You've had a couple of good buffering moments so far. The one where you saw Chris and froze, and the butthurt one. Yeah. It's good. So far, it's going really well. And there's the other co-host.
There's Katya. Katya, listen, do not take offense that we have had Mike on twice before we have you on. It's just that Mike Rice has been talking to you about getting you on. I think we're trying to time it with some projects you might have coming up. So that's on Mike, is the reason that this Mike has been on twice now, because I asked this Mike. So you got to give other Mike a hard time. Mike Rice, you got to give Mike a really hard time. I'll give you his address. Everybody in here, I'll give you the address. You can all send him hate mail. Obviously, everybody would much rather see Katya than us.
Sure.
So you have Mike to blame for that. But Katya is going to be coming on, and we're going to also bother Chris and get Chris on here sometime too. So he doesn't have a choice. I'll just go on your live show and ask publicly. So then you guys are jerks if you turn us down, right? So
we'll have you on again. We'll have you on.
Oh yeah. Well, I just like getting on and trying to derail your show, even though when you don't have a topic, it's impossible to derail. All I'm doing
is so great. It was we were just like, we're just gonna hang out and play games, and here you are thinking you're derailing the show, and we're like, great, you gave us a topic to talk about. This is awesome.
Man. I was secretly like a little happy that it's like, yeah, I'm the reason that they're having this conversation, and then it's like, but I'm totally foiled. Like my secret plan was totally foiled.
You actually helped. It was great.
Yeah, it's terrible. It blew up in my face. I feel like Skeletor at the end of a He-Man episode.
Every time. Yeah.
My whole plan just blew up right in my face. All right. So Lifeboat was my number 3. Mike, what do you got for me? What's your number 3?
You're really not giving me a good segue into any of my options.
All right.
I am going to go with. That's a tough one. How about Cutthroat Caverns? Have you played that one? Did he freeze like that? He's just really thinking hard if he's played Cutthroat Caverns or not, and that's just going to be his thinker pose. Wow, that's great. Oh, I might as well drink while he's buffering, and we go to the black screen, and we get the little circle. There we go.
Hey, I'm back. Yeah, Cutthroat Caverns. I heard Cutthroat Caverns.
Have you played it?
No.
Oh, wait. Do you not hear what's said when you're buffering?
No, I turn on my iPad. I turn up the volume on the iPad so I can hear what's happening what I'm missing. Okay. I can hear what I'm missing. Got it.
All right. So, Cutthroat Caverns. I mean, the name it's in the name, right?
Yeah.
You only score if you have the final blow to the monster. So you could really ask for people to help and whittle down the monster's health, and then come in and nail the last shot and get the points, and they don't get anything. But then you can also force the monster to attack other people. So it's got a it's the way the game is, but it's got a very mean-spirited kind of semi-negotiation. Like, look, if you do this, I'll do that, and I promise I won't. Like, I don't have enough to kill the monster, and then you do 10, and I got the one that does it, and it can be very mean. But it's got a bunch of expansions. I think they recently redid a version of it, but it's a really, really fun game. But it can be very, very mean.
I mean, Munchkin has like a similar aspect, right? Like, hey, who's going to help me? I will give you the loot. I can give you the experience, you know, like, can you, but yeah, that sounds, I mean, with a game like Cutthroat Caverns, if you've played it, I feel like it should be on the list just by its own nature, right? Unless the name is completely wrong and doesn't actually represent what the game is.
it can be definitely, because I mean, just in the concept of you only score points if you're the one that kills the monster.
Mm-hmm.
And you need people to help you, like, bring down the health so you can get the final blow. But if you're selling that too much, then people are gonna not help you because they know you're gonna get the points. So there's a lot of gameplay in the way that whole thing works, and it could be really it could be really good. I think it's way better. Like, if you play Munchkin, play Cutthroat Caverns. It's way better.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it, and more interesting, maybe negotiating and stuff with it too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Cutthroat Caverns, awesome game.
All right, I'm gonna jump onto my number 2. My number 2 is a game that was described to me as hate in a box. This has recently been reprinted by Pandasaurus. I was surprised to see it reprinted, to be honest, because I feel like some people could find the theme problematic, and I would just kind of say get over it because it's based on historical events. Mike, have you ever played Tammany Hall?
Oh no, I stay far away from Tammany Hall. That and Diplomacy, I don't touch.
Oh, Tammany Hall is so mean. It is so mean.
Mm-hmm.
It is so mean. And really what it is you are manipulating the different ethnic groups and immigrant groups that have come through New York City, in what, the 1860s, 1870s. You're literally like lost weed, and you're moving the Irish or the Italians or the English around to the different territories, and then you are voting. You're getting votes, you're lobbying votes and getting points, and the different offices you can hold give you different abilities, but that just kind of depends on where you're at in the voting. And I enjoy it quite a bit. Again, I play it with specific people that I know will enjoy that kind of game. It's not something that it's like, oh, hey, let's all have fun and sing Kumbaya and play Tammany Hall. Like, no. Yeah. It's very much like I play with my close friends where we can all talk mad trash and be extra mean to each other. Nobody's really going to be, now we might bring it up 3 years later, like what you did to me, in this game, but it comes from a place of love.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
well, it's like Brian was saying in the last comment about Cutthroat. Like, you're going into that game knowing it's going to be that kind of way, but the game, I mean, it can be mean. It could be brutal, where you just, again, you can kind of choke people out of like getting points specifically. So
sure, yeah, and Nemesis, Katya, you're right. Nemesis can be very mean, especially if you're playing like the hidden traitor in that game, or it's not even a hidden traitor as much as maybe you just need to be the only one to survive, or you need player X to die. So there are some games like that, right? Like Dead of Winter also has some aspects to that. And things.
Gambit.
Yeah.
Never played.
I guess Black Fleet. Shannon said Black.
There you go. Perfect. Another drink. This was a bad idea, guys. Holy shit. Yeah, from what I know of Black Fleet's supposed to be bad as well. Yeah, this whole drinking every time you buffer thing, I didn't think about this clearly.
Yeah, don't commit to those kind of things. I'm not going to hold you to it.
Very bad decision. Yeah.
It's really worse tonight because Mike isn't on. Usually when Mike's here, it's not that bad.
Great.
That's what we're saying. And yeah, David, you're right. Like tight worker placement games can be mean.
Waterdeep.
Right. And so Nick's, I think as a rule, like most of the time, yes. Yeah. But at the same time, like sometimes I like playing those kind of games with people just so I can like feel people out, because I do, not in a bad way, but I like to like press buttons sometimes with people because I want to see how they react. And then I can get a real good idea of like maybe their sense of humor, you know, what their demeanor is, you know, and, you know, cause like,
that's the story of Henry Ford, right? The way that he would hire his upper management. You know that?
no, what's that? No.
He would take people out to dinner. He'd get them through the process, the interview process, right? And the people that made it to the final whatever, he'd take them out to dinner and just shoot the shit with them. Just order your food and do your thing. And the way he judged people, kind of going off what you said about how they play their game and your table, he would judge them on whether or not they season the meal before they taste it.
Oh, interesting.
So that means they didn't trust the chef to do the job right.
Interesting.
So if they tasted it and then they added salt or they added whatever, then great, continue the process and move on. But if they would immediately grab the salt shaker and start salting their steak or whatever, they don't trust the person. And so how can they trust me to do my job if they don't trust?
Wow.
It's a really cool story.
Wow,
but yeah,
that's interesting.
Judge somebody on the way they play mean games, friendly games, co-op games, right? You play a straight co-op and someone starts telling you what to do on your turn, man, it says a lot about them.
Yeah. Yeah. And how they approach. If there's one thing to talk about what maybe optimal turns are, and there's another thing to like be directing people as to what they have to do. And then how they react when you don't do what they have determined is the optimal move.
Yep.
You know? Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, again, board games really bring out all kinds of aspects of people's personalities, you know?
Sure do.
And like normally, like if I'm playing a game, especially if I sit down, right? I sit down, let's say like Mike, you and I have never played a game together. Now, by the time we do play a game together, we're going to know each other relatively well, I would assume. But it would be like, if I had never met you, we sat down and we're going to play a game together. Like, I don't care if I win or not. But now if I'm sitting down to play a game with like some of my best friends, I'm trying to grind them all to dust. You know, like 100%. That's just the way I am. But
I would take offense to that first game of ours. If we didn't know each other, sure. But if we played a game tomorrow and you took that approach where you're like, I'm just playing to win and it's all for no. I would take offense to that.
Yeah. As you should. As you should.
Oh, I would.
Because that would just mean I'm just trying to get through the experience. Like, I just gotta get through this, you know. No.
We're already on our is this technically our second date or third date? Like second
I guess
date would have been Gen Con. I've been on twice, so
and I was sort of on I was sort of on your show. Were you not on that one? I buffered so bad I kind of bailed by the time we got to game time.
I was on that one. So this
because you were
so I don't want you to take it easy on the gaming. Like you should just try and hammer it.
No. I feel like we kind of know each other well enough, you know, so
yeah, for sure.
I do respect Chris's approach. I'm about to buffer again. I can tell.
Oh, now you're calling your shot? This is shitty. I don't like it. Now he can call his shot. I bet you he does it on purpose. You want to bet he does it on purpose? He's just got a button and he just hits it and it buffers.
Well, I could tell because I went to highlight Chris's comment and then I went to pull it down and do a different one and it locked up. So I knew, I was like, okay, I'm going to purgatory for a minute.
Yeah.
And no, Katya, I feel like I know you too well now, like well enough, right? It's not like we hang out, but I feel like I know you well enough. No, I'm not going to hold back. But you sit down at a con, I want to make friends. You know, I don't want to, because then once we're friends, I feel like we can play games competitively, you know, against each other. And usually, like the first time I play a game, I don't care. Like I'm just trying random things, see what happens.
Learning game.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I stole this saying from my brother-in-law, but the first game doesn't count unless you win. So first time you play a game doesn't count, but if you win, you better count it because you won that game.
That's Chris's rule too when he plays with his partner Aaron. I think he only counts it if he wins, and if Aaron wins, he doesn't put it in his little tracker that he does. Yeah.
Well, you know. It's weird how that works.
I know.
It's weird how that works.
To Brian's point, up a few, somebody teaching you a game and just totally houses you.
Oh, dude, that's the worst. We call that bad teacher award. We even joke and call it if the teacher beats you by 1 point, we still say bad teacher award, even though that's not the case. I personally believe that the person teaching you the game needs to provide you with a good experience with that game. Because you have now sort of become an ambassador for that game. You know what I mean? Like if you're demoing a game at Gen Con, if you're teaching your friends a game, like, hey, I really want you guys to like this game. I don't necessarily need you to win, but I don't want to like run you into the ground like I could, if it's a game I'm really familiar with,
That happened to me in Terraforming Mars. The person that taught me Terraforming Mars taught me, like, this is the game. Great. I think I understood it. They played it. It's their favorite game, so they've played it to the ground, right? And then, like, a couple turns in, they were like, oh, you can also do this as part of the end game scoring. Like, what the fuck? Later on, it was like, oh, you can. What do you mean you can do that? Oh, yeah, I didn't tell you that. And it wasn't even close, and I'll never play the game again. It was such a horrible experience. I don't like the game. And I think it's flawed. It's not my own experience. I think the game is flawed itself. But that experience turned me right off. That's why Chris was saying before, like, if you want to piss somebody off or whatever, have them play Arkham. You can have an experience with Arkham if the person running the game has no idea what they're doing. You'll never play that game again. But if you get basically a GM to take you through that experience, it's such a narrative. It's just fun. But that's any game, right? You can have a bad teach of Uno and be like, I don't want to play that game again.
I'm done. Yeah. No, and again, right? Like like one of my favorite games, and it's so easy. It's an old game and everything. I do pretty well at it, not to like toot my own horn, right? But like DC deck building game. It's a game I love. And if you know what you're doing, you can do really well, even when the market isn't always in your favor. You can still optimize things in that game. I try really hard when I'm teaching new people that game. I just try different things. I try weird stuff because I would rather that those people would want to play that game with me again than win by 40 points. Yeah, now, if I'm playing with my buddy Bob, who is really good and at a lot of games, and he's played that game with me 20 times, no, I want to beat that dude by 100 points. If I win by 40 points, it ain't good enough. I want to beat him as bad as I can.
Yeah.
But when I'm teaching new people the game, I would much rather, and even if I felt like, oh no, if I play, I would just do too well. I don't think that would ever be the case. I would almost rather sit out and teach everybody else to play the game, because, and not everybody finds that a satisfying experience, but with games that I really love, I definitely don't mind. Sometimes it's just being around other people experiencing that game, right? Or even, especially for the first time, and like, that's just my personality, my like the way that I am. But, and Magic the Gathering breeds this mentality, unfortunately. And I think that like you can play like my buddy Bob, he's on the show. He's one of my best friends. When I go and sit down and play Magic with Bob, I am prepared emotionally to just get decimated. I am. So when I beat him, it feels really good, right? Like it feels really good. But if I'm playing with other people, I'm trying not to be a dick. I'm trying to just have a good time. I hate to attribute that quote to Will Wheaton because I don't feel like he takes his own advice. But yeah, don't be a dick. Like when playing games, how
hard is that of a rule to follow, right? Just don't be. I mean, in life too, right? How hard is it to not be a dick? Like, come on, just don't be a dick.
Right. Yep. And yeah, Nick, you're right. Yeah, if you forget a rule, just be like, hey man, I forgot this. Like I'm not gonna do it, but I could, but I didn't explain it. I totally get that, and much respect to you and that happens too, right? Nobody's perfect. Even if you've taught the game 40 times, you're at Gen Con and you're just demoing over and over and over and over. You might forget something just from the mush that your brain can turn into.
Dude, I've taught Batman wrong.
Oh,
like like I've been like, oh wait, did I not tell? Yeah, I forgot to tell you guys this. This is a thing we can do. Like I've done that wrong. Like it happens. It happens to designers. It happens to your favorite game. It happens especially if you're teaching your favorite game, or you like with prototypes or developing stuff for 3WS. You're so close to the game that you kind of take for granted some of the things that come naturally because you've been playing it so much. And now you got to remember, like, oh, I got to teach you this. All right, these are the things you can do. Fuck, I forgot that thing. And then it's second nature to you, but your player aid is your head and you're in the game. It's not on the table. So it's weird, right? It happens.
Yeah. And Katya, I will say, it's fine if you never want to play Magic again, but a really decent way for people that aren't like hardcore Magic the Gathering players. If you play the app, its matchmaking works with people that are on your level.
And on that note, I think Magic has other problems with it. I think it's a barrier to entry with the money that you can spend for your deck. I think Commander's a good way to get into gaming or Magic gaming. But if you want to experience Magic without the deck building, money hurdle, bullshit draws of like mana drain or whatever, play Keyforge. Keyforge is so easy to get into. It's $10 a deck. There's no deck building. You literally shuffle your thing and play. And there's no, like, the other side of the table is doing the same thing. It's not because they constructed the deck better. It's not because they didn't draw the right cards in the first 7 or 2 turns, whatever it is. I think Magic, the arena is really good to play if you just want to play. And then if you want a card game in person, I think Keyforge is the way to go. Yeah,
Keyforge is great. Keyforge is really good. I've got a bunch of decks that I just picked up randomly, like secondhand off of people that were like getting out of Keyforge, bought a bunch of stuff for free, or really, really cheap. And then what's really funny is that my buddy Bob, who's super good at Magic, he has never beat me at Keyforge because he doesn't have that control aspect, and I just do better sometimes on the fly.
Yeah.
And he just cannot, like, it's just the way that our brains work, I think. I was able to adjust over to sort of the I get this, and he was sometimes more used to having the control and the building up of I know turn 3, this is my play, right? These are the cards I expect to have on turn 3. This is what's going to happen. But yeah, Arena is really good for it. You don't have to spend a dime. You can play Arena for free and really good.
Yeah, I think Keyforge, the puzzle in Keyforge is you pick one of your 3 factions and you do everything you want to do in that faction.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, I don't have the right mana, so now I got like I'm bowling this turn and whatever. Like you could literally just not do anything and gather your shards and that's your turn. Or you can do everything in that faction, whatever the faction is, whatever's out, whatever's in your hand. It makes it more streamlined than like 95% of Magic is building your deck, and then that 5% will just screw you because the first 10 cards aren't what you need, and the other person just lucked into what they need, and now it's just like, which can happen in Keyforge. You can get the right cards at the right time when you draw, but it's less of a hurt feeling in that kind of thing, and it keeps kind of even.
I feel like Keyforge and like Shards of Infinity, it's almost more like timing, right? It's like timing of when do you set off some of these abilities and like how you do some of these things. More in Keyforge than Shards, but Shards is a great alternative sort of to Magic, in my opinion.
Yeah, good comparison.
But and then I think didn't Richard Garfield? They just announced they've got like a new pre-constructed deck game coming out, and I can't remember what it is now.
Well, they're redoing Keyforge. I know Asmodee Fire sold all their stuff, but now they're redoing it.
Yeah, I don't think it's technically Keyforge, and I was wondering because Keyforge got hacked, and then the hackers tried to hold the algorithm for ransom, basically, and they said no thanks, we'll just rebuild it, and then they opted to rebuild it. But now that Garfield has announced this new one that with the pre-constructed decks, and I think it's a different co-designer. I was wondering if that was going to end up being what the new Keyforge is going to be, or are they going to do Keyforge and they're going to do that? I mean, Richard Garfield cranks out stuff all the time. He can do what he wants.
Yeah.
But speaking of deck builders, this is just on a tangent. I'm really excited for the new Star Wars deck building game that's coming out, I believe this week, right? Fantasy Flight Games.
March 3rd. Yep.
Dude, I don't know what it's going to be, but I can't wait. It's like a blind buy for me. I'm just a nerd.
I mean, it's Star Wars, sure. I'm not very big into the lore, but I'm excited for Lorcana. I think they can do that well too.
Dude, and the Lorcana stuff is, I saw on Facebook somebody paid $35,000 for a sequential set of Lorcana cards, which is insane to me. But if that's what you really want, spend your money on it. Because I mean, I get it. I've got kids. We've gone to Disney. It's super expensive to go down to Disney, right?
Probably 35 grand.
if you want to drop a bunch of money on a Disney trip because that's what you want to do, God love you, right? I mean, do it. If you want to spend a bunch of money and go to a Rangers game and meet all the players, that's what you want to do. If I want to go to a Notre Dame game or a Cubs game, and get like that primo experience, if that's what gives you joy in life, go for it, right? And just as you're saying, right? Like all of these board games, these were not free. I was way deep into this hobby before I even started getting anything sent to me for a review or for free or whatever. And, so spend your money the way you want. But Lorcana does look legit really cool. And I can't wait to see what that is. Now, I'm not dropping a dime on that thing until the regular stuff comes out, because the D23 stuff that came out last year or whatever, I mean, you maybe could try to play with it. But if you did, now you're ruining all those cards. I mean, that's more of an investment than a playable thing, that they, and I don't know if they put enough out at that convention to be playable, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
but I'm happy to wait for the playable version of it. But yeah, Lorcana, I'm super excited about Lorcana. I really am. I play the Sorcerer's Arena. Have you played any of that? Yeah,
love it. I played it at the Gathering last year before it came out,
and I just got the new expansion. I got it like right before it hit retail because I'm lucky the op likes me.
The one with Buzz and
the one with Buzz and Elsa and Scar, which is pretty cool. So they're adding like a villain aspect to it. But I mean, I like all that stuff, like I liked it before I had kids. I like it even more now that I have kids because I got to watch it. But then you indoctrinate your children to watch the things you like. Like I got up before work and watched The Mandalorian before my family woke up so I could watch it uninterrupted.
Nice.
And then with my 6-year-old went back and watched all the Grogu scenes because I know that that's what he'd care about. So spoiler alert for Mandalorian season 3 is there's some Grogu scenes.
Yeah, you gotta.
What?
I'm gonna watch after we're done here. If Luke is still awake, I hear him starting to get fussy. But if Luke is still awake, I'm gonna be watching that tonight.
Yeah.
While we're on an aside, Chris and his brother just released a new part of the full 42. They're gonna do it's called Scry-Fi, and they're gonna be talking about geeky stuff. And they dropped the first episode today. They talked about They talked about Mandalorian. So some more stuff from the 42 is coming.
So it's funny because you said you were going to go watch Mandalorian when you get done. When I get done, I'm going to watch Chris's thing because the only thing that disappointed me with that when he announced that on Monday is that he said he wasn't going to do one for next week because he's going to be in Vegas, or was it 2 weeks from now?
No, next week is Dice Tower West. They'll be out there for Cardboard Alchemy. So
like how dare he? How dare he? I need to see what his reaction is. To the second episode.
So Chris, we'll do our own. Oh,
snap. He's got to be mad about that, right?
It's Whiskey Wednesday.
Right.
I'm not saying to have me on a third time, but
Wow. Oh, okay. He's gonna make one. He's just late. Okay, I can forgive you for late, but I'm gonna need.
Well, it's going to be after the convention, so it's not going to be next week. It'll be the beginning of the week after.
Yeah. We might have to to stretch out, put a little Band-Aid and cover for you.
Just saying.
But so Chris, without any spoilers or anything, because I do want to go watch your thing. How did you feel about the first episode of season 3? I personally enjoyed it. I mean, it's Mandalorian. I'm already in. I'm interested to see where they're going to go. I mean, obviously they set up some things and you see where the arc of the season is going to go, but I'm in. I'm all for it. It seems like they have very easily excised Cara Dune from the show now because she had her own problems.
Really?
Yeah, there's basically like one line that easily dismisses it and everything. But yeah, man. All right. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did too, quite a bit.
Can't wait.
And so I'm down for it. Oh,
I
think I'm gonna buffer. I'm calling.
Oh, perfect timing. Yeah, that's great. Oh my God, this drinking is not good. Cheers to everyone drinking along with me. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm on a third time, Chris. I'm just saying there might be a thing.
It might be a thing. Oh, you know what? So Brian, real quick, I don't know that I like Andor more, but I think once Andor got going and ramped up and got to where it ended, it was great. It was really good. And I'm just gonna say I'm gonna side with Chris here. It's not a competition. You can like both.
Yeah, all the Star Wars. I don't care what it is. All the Star Wars, even Boba Fett.
There's parts of. Why am I having troubles there? There was parts of Boba Fett that I thought Boba Fett wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but I still enjoyed it.
Mandalorian 2.5.
Well, unfortunately, right? Like Boba Fett got really good once Mando showed up, and then they totally walked away from the Boba Fett storyline and did a Mandalorian. Hey, what they should have done is done like the BBC does with Doctor Who, and done the like the Christmas special, right? Like, hey, we're just gonna go do like a Mandalorian 1.5 off. Let you do this, and then now back to our regularly scheduled Boba Fett show.
Sure.
No, Boba Fett was great. Sets up the character really well, like for what they're doing with Tatooine. It's fine. I thought the final episode I enjoyed quite a bit. I really enjoyed that finale. I like characters like Black Chrysanthemum.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
like,
they did him dirty though. I don't think they could have done him, but like the scene where they were like, "You're free to go," and he's just like, "All right, I'll go walk over to this fucking hill in front of me for no reason." Like, this is where the show gets derailed. This is how it happens.
Yeah,
right?
This is what happens. We still have our number one left.
I still got my number two.
We were cruising along. And
it's fine. It's Star Wars. Star Wars does the thing. I think, and we've talked about this on the Full 42. I think Andor was unbelievably great, and Luthen's speech in what was it, episode 10, is arguably my favorite moment in Star Wars overall.
Like when he's talking about what he gave up. Like where the one guy's like, you haven't, what do you have to lose or whatever? And Luthen's doing the whole thing about
in Obi's face where he gets emotional and he calls Anakin Darth for the first time, and you can see Ewan McGregor like that emotion is it's amazing, and it'll bring tears to your eyes. There are moments where like Ahsoka and Anakin and Ahsoka and Maul and Obi and Maul, and there are moments that are just unbelievably bonkers. But nothing gave me the goosebumps that Luthen's, like the first time I watched it, I like stopped breathing listening to what he was saying. And then watching it again and again, and his portrayal and his acting, that moment in Star Wars history for me, if not top like I don't rank things very often. That's got to be in my top 3, bar none.
Okay. So remind me, because what we'll do, I haven't watched all of Star Wars Visions, but I really liked what I saw of it. I watched a couple of them. All right, I'm gonna make a note of something. I'm writing down some of my top Star Wars moments real quick, because we're gonna revisit this. But just for anybody that is like, wait, did I miss number 1? Because I saw Nick's and David thought that they missed. Let's power through our meanest games, and then I'm going to go back to Star Wars because I have some things to say about and some controversial things to say about Star Wars, which I love. I love the conversation that this is going to bring up, and I really want to hear like your and Chris's opinions on some of these thoughts that I've had, because I don't know how you feel about these things, because when they came out, we weren't friends. So, you know what I mean? So we maybe didn't have these conversations.
You should send Chris the link to the StreamYard and get him on for that if he's not doing anything busy or anything.
Dude, yeah, Chris, if you want, dude, just comment, Chris, if you're interested, we could have you on for our top for some Star Wars conversation right after
Will
this.
really derail their show, Chris. I'm just
dude, it's gonna. Well, we've got nothing after the top 5, so it's gonna rail right into where it needs to be. Oh,
okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right, look, these. I'm gonna do my number 2 and just get it done with.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Battlestar Galactica is on my list of meanest games.
Totally mean that goes into the hidden trader. You've got a hidden trader. You're being, especially if you're somebody that's like in charge of stuff, right? So Battlestar is super mean.
If you're not good at that type of game and somebody is just a little bit better than you, you don't even need to be the Cylon. You can get totally choked out, put in the airlock, you're done. And you're like, I'm human, man. Like, I was here to help. I don't even know what the hell just happened, and now I'm dead. It could be so brutal, but great, but so brutal.
Yeah, and David, my favorite Star Wars themed game is Rebellion, just so you know. Rebellion is my favorite. Outer Rim, I was kind of disappointed with Outer Rim. I was left flat. I traded it to my buddy Bob because I knew then it would stay in the collection. Like, I would always have access to it. I could always say, hey, Bobby, I want to play Outer Rim. And I knew I could play it. So I don't mind sometimes trading games that I'm kind of on the fence to friends because then I still have access to them instead of like shipping it off to like a stranger. But yeah, BSG, you're getting some love for BSG here. And it's a good pick, dude.
Brutal. It could be so brutal.
Toaster.
Yeah.
But Dennis has got my back, and Brian disagrees. He loves Outer Rim, and that's great. I think the only reason I was a little cold on Outer Rim was because I really like Xia Legends of a Drift System, and that is like Outer Rim to the nth degree. Sure. It's way more open, and I was kind of hoping with Outer Rim, like you could really kind of go nuts with how far out, you know, in the cruise that you could make, you know, and stuff like, but it's not a bad thing just because I can't.
Yeah.
Outer Rim is being a good dungeon master. You shouldn't allow people to just do whatever the hell they want, you know, in games sometimes, because you need to have things make sense and do what you need them to do. I could tell a really funny. We used to play the old D6 version of the Star Wars role-playing game all the time, and it was my buddy and I used to run it, and we used to play it with a couple other friends all the time, blah blah blah. We thought we probably did okay because people kept coming back and playing with us, right? Which was great. But we had a guy who had never run a game before, wanted to run his own Star Wars campaign, and he ran it on the Death Star, which was his first mistake, because then we talked. He allowed us, because he allowed the rules to just work, and a good game master, a good dungeon master doesn't just submit completely to the rules, but he allowed the rules to work where we talked Darth Vader into an airlock, jettisoned Vader out of an airlock, and then just had a Death Star to fly around. So we're like, well, we're going to Dagobah, and he's like, well, you don't know what Dagobah is, and I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to go in the thing and look up the the computer for planets called Dagobah. He's like, okay, I guess roll a knowledge check or whatever. We found it, and it's like, okay, you found Dagobah. It's like, okay, we're gonna go there. We're gonna blow it up. So we just we just went around doing, and he let us, which is the worst thing you can let like your players do, right? So I get Outer Rim. Like, long story short, Outer Rim keeps you on rails. You're doing what you need to do. It's good for that. I like Xia because it's a little more sandboxy. Sure. But yeah, Battlestar, you're getting a lot of love for Battlestar though, right? Battlestar is very
brutal,
very brutal, and it's mean, and it's hard. Here's the thing: is Battlestar is hard enough as it is, and yeah, that's amazing, Willie. That's great. You married a good woman right there. Like, let's just play a game of Battlestar real quick.
For Brian. And yes, I mean, Firefly's got his place too, but for Brian, Star Wars Armada has a ship upgrade pack or a ship expansion pack. I forget what it is, but they have a ship pack, and it has the majority of the ships for Outer Rim, so you don't have to use the cardboard tokens. You can just use the ship. So it's got Slave One, it's got
nice.
It's got a bunch of them, so you can get the upgrade, the Armada pack with the ships, and use that in Outer Rim to kind of bling it out. I get they're gray and you could paint them, but it's still got enough.
Because if you use the X-Wing ships, they're too big.
Yeah.
Right, because I've got like Houndstooth and I've got the Outrider. I've got a bunch of X-wing stuff right behind me, kind of just out of view.
Yeah, they're just too big.
But I bought some X-wing not X-wing, Star Wars micro machines to put in my my Star Wars Risk, like the black box edition, right?
Yeah.
Just for that, just to have some cool ships to use that.
Micro machines are great. Micro machines work really well for Rallyman. If you haven't played the newer Rallyman GT or whatever the newer one is,
okay.
I have my old Batmobile from the '89, the Batwing, the Batmobile, and the Joker van. They make the DeLorean from Back to the Future. They make a bunch of the sci-fi '80s stuff that we love that fits really well in the Rallyman on the Rallyman board. So.
And then if you're going to play the Troubles game, you don't even have to find micro machines because the ships all look pretty much like what the IP says they should look like.
Yeah, maybe flattened down Slave ones, and
it's good to me, man. It's good to me.
Yeah,
I love it. But okay, so let's do number one, and then we're gonna derail. We're gonna dive headfirst into some Star Wars talk. But David, yeah, you're right. You can't let you can't let idiots like us. Now, we were in high school when we did this. We were jerks. We were being dicks. We were like, oh, well, he's going to let us do this. Well, let's just go around and, and just do all the stupid things. I mean, nobody in their right mind should ever let a character, any known character, get talked into an airlock. There's no way, anyways.
You might have a choice because you're not really good at that game. And now it's a 4-hour trek through Battlestar, right? And now you're in an airlock and dead, and you get to sit there while everyone else is kind of having it could be super bad.
Terrible. All right. So my number one, and it's my favorite. I've got some of my favorite backstabbing stories from this game, and I never get mad at how mean this game gets because it is in the IP. It is literally, if you enjoy the theme and the intellectual property that this game is based on, then you need to embrace the fact that this is a mean game, and that is Game of Thrones.
Oh my God.
Game of Thrones is so mean.
Yeah.
My favorite stories about Game of Thrones is it's like, if you didn't backstab me the turn you did, I was going to backstab you the very next turn, and it was going to give me the game, and your backstab action gave you the game. So while I might be pissed and I might bring it up 5 years later, 10 years later, that you screwed me over, I don't care, because every time I play Game of Thrones and I'll play with the same people, I'll be like, I'm going to get that sucker the first turn, the very first chance I get, I'm going to get him. What's really funny is last time we played Game of Thrones, I played with 2 new people I'd never played games with before. Actually, one person was the very first time I had even met them. I made allies with them. And the whole time, my other friend, Dan's like, you can't trust him. You can't trust him. I made it a point that I never betrayed that dude just to prove Dan wrong. But then the other new guy, I was like, heads up. Like, I'm coming for you now. Because I need to, and he was learning the game. It's his first time playing. And I'm like, dude, I'm just telling you right now, strategy wise, you've got the keep I need. I'm just saying. He barely beat me. He barely beat me. I played so above board just to prove people wrong because I wasn't going to be like backstabby to the new guys. Because again, I'm an ambassador for the game. It's a game I love. I want these people to play this game again. But the dudes that have played the game before, I totally screwed them over so bad. I backstabbed the shit out of them.
That's great.
And just like, hey man, like this is a game we're playing. Game of Thrones, it doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to be backstabby. But for me, like part of the enjoyment of it is you play the Game of Thrones to win or you die. I mean, that is a quote from the book.
Yeah.
And maybe from the show, I don't remember. But it's a series of books that I've read multiple times. I love the game. The first 4 seasons of that show are amazing. House of the Dragon is really good. I enjoy that quite a bit. That's a whole other derailment.
It's okay.
But it's House of the Dragon is better than the book that it's based on only because the book literally reads like a textbook, because it is like these events happened, like it's like reading like the second book of the Bible, where they're just like so and so beget so and so beget so and so beget so and so, and you're like, okay, I can't keep any of these names straight because all the names are really close. It's like Viserion and Viserys and
Then all of a sudden there's an age jump and everyone's a different actor because they're all older, and you're like, wait, is that the same character?
Well, and that was the problem with House of the Dragon. I get it. You don't always know who is what and stuff, but they did do a reasonably good job of conveying that particular section of the book.
Good. But it's good. It's not Game of Thrones, but it's good.
No, the first 4 or 5 seasons of Game of Thrones, once they started having to create their own material, for me, Game of Thrones got really rough. Rough. They did a really good job of bringing the book stuff to the show. And I get it, because you can't take everything. Sure. And they left some stuff out. They consolidated some things. I get it. Do not mad respect for them for doing what they did. But when they were creating stuff based like kind of out of whole cloth, it got, for me, pretty unsatisfying. I'll just say that. Including the ending of the show. Even if George R.R. Martin was like, this is how the show is going to end, X, Y, and Z characters are going to be alive and they're going to be in this position, the way that they did it, I'm out. Maybe I would feel the same way if I had read it in the books, but maybe not. I agree. But anyways, so Game of Thrones is my number one. Diplomacy is so long. Trevor, I really want to play one of those like month-long versions of Diplomacy where like you have a week to email in your orders to somebody that's like controlling the game, and you've got time to like do a lot of like back channels. You know what I mean? Because anymore now, I used to think I would want to do it like a whole day at a convention where you're like, you're going around and you're negotiating and you're doing all these things. But now, like when I'm at a convention, I just want to play so many games, or there's people I want to meet or talk to. Like for example, if I was to go to QSCon, if I was at QSCon for like one day, I would be bothering Mike as much as I could just to like hang out with him in person, because I've only hung out with you in person for a half an hour. I probably ate up a half hour, 45 minutes of your time at Gen Con, and we just met. And I feel like we hit it off really well in that, in that period of time, obviously, because you're here. Again,
it wasn't a waste of time for me.
But like for me, that's now what conventions have become. It's like just meeting some people. And I didn't know you from Adam, like I just started talking to you. You were just standing there and I started talking to you about mission control. And then it just like diverted into this whole other thing, and it's like, holy shit, all right, man, this is great.
It's just a great example of the board game industry, right? Like that's what happens. We all have a love for a thing, right? So we just want to talk. It's like Star Wars. Like, holy shit, we'll just derail with Star Wars because we all enjoy a thing and we all want to talk about the thing that we enjoy. Same thing with board games. We're in the 70s, well, at its heyday, right? 72,000 people join in Gen Con to talk about and look at cardboard. And here we are talking about it.
Right. No, Ginger, we are actually we're getting ready to hit our Mike's number one. And then once Mike's done, I'll run through my 5 again in order. Just so y'all know.
Look at Brian.
Backstabber is the online community that allows you to play while not. Oh, I like that, dude. That's kind of fun. That's kind of fun. And yeah, Brian, you're right. There's no excuse not to go to QSCon. Not at all. I gotta see. Okay, so wait. Pardon my geographical ignorance. How far is Syracuse from like Niagara Falls and stuff like that?
2.5.
Okay, so like if I was to like talk my wife into going on like a trip to New York, and like, hey, we're gonna hit like Niagara Falls because the kids will love it, and then I'm gonna go to Syracuse and like hang out for a day or two.
I'll tell you, Syracuse or upstate New York, anywhere in upstate New York, in the fall is beautiful. All the leaves are changing. You get all the colors. Like, it's still nice out where maybe you're wearing a light hoodie. You don't have to really like it's beautiful. And it just happens to be the same time that QSCon happens.
Oh yeah, that's weird, right? What a weird coincidence.
Yeah. There was this convention too. Yeah.
Oh well,
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why I get my kids playing games now. So then, like, oh, we're gonna go play games all day. Great,
Done.
great. All right, Mike, what's your number one? So we can get into what we really want to talk about, and that's Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn through this one. I'm going. Well, one, I'm gonna need a refill. Two, I'm gonna get Buddy Man, and I want to talk Star Wars. I'm gonna go with Evolution.
Oh, dude.
Again, these are not in any order, right? I'm not saying that
Oh.
this is my number one. It's just on my top five. I would like to mention two games. Artemis Project can be very mean because of the resources and putting the dice down. And I haven't played Brew yet, but I've heard Brew is brutal. No pun
Yeah, I
intended.
haven't played Brew, right? Yeah.
But yeah, Evolution, man, you literally eat someone's species. Like you just take them off the map. And it relies on the cards. You get the right carnivore card and you upgrade your thing. And man, like it can just really go in someone's favor. And I have two people to pick from. I can pick from Tim or I can pick from Mike. I'm gonna eat yours. I don't know why. I'm just gonna eat yours. So
yeah. No, the crazy thing is I love Evolution. I enjoy I really liked Evolution. It was really mean, so it was hard to get played early on. Oceans softens the blow a little bit. Oceans is actually probably in my opinion, a better version of Evolution. I love Oceans, but I also love Evolution. But Evolution is mean as hell. Holy crap! How is Evolution not on my list? Evolution should be on my list. It is one of the meanest freaking games I have ever played. It is so mean.
It can be, right? Like you don't need to create the carnivore and you don't need to eat somebody's thing, but yeah, I'm going to do it because you're getting points and I'm just going to take you out of the game. Like it's just, but it does rely on the card, right? Getting the right cards, having the right upgrades, like doing the right thing and having your structure and being able to have the certain amount of creatures. Like you can make that very mean.
Well, what's fun in Evolution is when somebody's running like a carnivore and then they've got like an herbivore next to them, you know, they're running their two little critters and they're coming after you. And then you give your guy like climbing and the carnivore doesn't have climbing. Now he's got to eat his own dude. Also super mean, but you know, there's ways to go around that. But you
need the right card at the right time, right? If you don't get climbing, you're getting eaten. But if you get if that card becomes climbing and you're like, this is great. It's a cool moment, but man, it could be brutal.
Right. And David, you're right. Catan, the robber in Catan. And also you can just be mean in Catan with going, I'm not trading with you. Like it doesn't matter. I'm not even going to listen to your trade offer. You could be like, I will give you 5 of this resource or everything you need to build a village or a city. But somebody could just go, I'm not trading with you. So yes.
Well, and also, if you're going to give them the win, right? You're not doing that. That's like what I talked about at the beginning of this. You become the kingmaker, right? Like I'm going to hand somebody the win by making a bad trade. Like I'm not doing. You can give me everything you want. I'm not doing it because you're going to win. Like I can't.
Right. Andrew, I like your style, man. And tell your wife we said hi. And that you're technically officially part of the show because you always interject and add yourself. So, you know, you're there. He always does. Mike, just so you know, every time like I go, I'm Mike, or, you know, I wouldn't say I'm Mike. I'd say I'm Tim. And then, you know, Mike says I'm Mike and you say I'm Mike. And then he will type in I'm Andrew because he did earlier today, right? It's like probably the third comment on the show. So Andrew F is always kind of in the show. Yeah. And Trevor, you're right. Ticket to Ride can be, I don't feel like it's mean enough because I feel like Ticket to Ride, you can play your own, everybody can sit at the table at Ticket to Ride and play their own game. It doesn't have to be mean. Now you might accidentally be mean or you can choose to be mean, but I try to put games on my list that are actively inherently built into the game are just kind of mean, which is why Evolution is a really good pick because Evolution inevitably the second you could even be an herbivore if there's not enough food. If you don't play enough food and you know you're going to eat before the other players. Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to be mean in Evolution. There's
it's kind of like the Artemis Project, right? Like if somebody drops a 5 on that resource track and you have a lower die and you can push them over and you know there's only 7 resources, you end up getting the resources, they don't get a fully. You can specifically screw them out of stuff, and same thing.
And yeah, David, there's the thing, right? Is sometimes you're just gonna have people that are gonna be that way. Like, look, I am offering you a great trade, and they just aren't gonna do it. Nope. You know, and it may not even be an instant win. but yeah, it happens. There's just some people that aren't going to do it, you know.
I mean,
and Andrew, I like your idea. Top five best board games that turn into drinking games that shouldn't be a drinking game.
I mean,
man, there's so many good ones.
This one right here, the cat and mouse, the game of cat and mouse,
2-player.
Really? Oh my god, yeah, it's a great game. All right, I'm gonna go get a refill.
Okay, I'll fill for you, and I'll fill for you till you get back.
All right, good. I'll be right back.
So I'm writing down the top 5 board games that shouldn't be drinking games.
Do you want to go over the top 5 before?
Oh yeah. Run through your top 5 first, and then I'll do mine while you get up.
All right. So in no particular order, my top 5 ended up being good, perfect time for you to buffer. I started off with Waterdeep. I went to Survive, Escape from Atlantis. Then I went to Cutthroat Caverns. Then I did Battlestar Galactica, and I just ended with Evolution.
Okay, yeah, that's a fantastic list, dude. You put together a great list. All right, Mike's gonna go take care of a few things. I'm gonna run through my list real quick. My number 5 is the obligatory Munchkin. My number 4 is the Downfall of Pompeii. Even though I am gleefully mean in that game, and it's usually in good fun, people can take it as mean for sure. My number 3 was Lifeboat. It was actually going to be higher, but people were like, what's that game where you're like in a lifeboat and then you're like throwing people out of the lifeboat? I'm like, you keep saying Lifeboat. So my number 3 is Lifeboat. Super mean game. Hold on, I'm going to take a drink of water real quick. My number 2 is a game that we jokingly call Tammany Hall. We jokingly call it Hate in a Box. It's actually called Tammany Hall. Hate in a Box. Tammany Hall is super mean, and I enjoy it quite a bit. I like the historical theme. I like the political cartoons it uses for the artwork in the game. And Tammany Hall is really good. It got a nice reprint from Pandasaurus. They changed nothing. Which is great. I mean, you got a good version of a game, put it out as is. Don't church it up. Don't make the art, don't change the art. Leave it what it is. It conveys everything perfectly. And then my number 1 was Game of Thrones. So Munchkin, Downfall of Pompeii, Lifeboat, Tammany Hall, and Game of Thrones was my number 1. Nix, I have never played Shots Checkers, mostly because I'm bad at checkers and I could just do all the shots. By myself without it. Yeah, mean in a quick, silly game is much easier to take, right? If you're grinding out this long game and you've just got people like constantly beating you down and being really mean, that's rough. That's really rough. And usually for me provides sort of a bad experience. Hey, there's little Grogu himself, the man of the hour. Oh, and Grogu. We got Grogu and Grogu.
Grogu. He's almost saying Grogu. He's very close.
Ooh.
Right? Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Grogu.
Grogu.
See, Grogu. He knows. Hey, say Grogu.
You got it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah? Here. I'll say hi to everybody.
Hi, Luca.
Hi. Say hi. It's Grogu.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right? We're talking about Star Wars, so he might as well come down with his Grogu. With his lost cat from the new series.
I love it. I love it. That's fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
That's great.
Right? You like him?
And David, yeah, you're right. When you get knocked down in a long game, mean game, and you still have a long time to play, it's really tough. It's really tough. And Dennis,
I'll give you the child. Not Baby Yoda.
Once season 2 happened, you kind of have to get away. You kind of have to get away. Hey, Alan, thank you so much, Alan, for coming over and sharing your joy and your viewership with us in addition to the full 42. So keep coming
and
hanging out with us, man. I appreciate it. Okay, so Mike, here's controversial. I'm gonna say a controversial Star Wars statement here.
Okay.
Here's why Andor was so important and interesting to me. Is I feel like oh wait, hold on. Alan just commented real quick on one of our YouTube videos or things, and I got to say this to Alan if he's there still. Alan, comment on the Nightmare Productions video if you haven't yet. That's the one you need to comment to enter. We will, if you got a shipping address in Miami, we'll send it to Miami. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Controversial Star Wars statement. I think Rogue One is overrated because I didn't find the main character, and I forget her name, or Cassian Andor at that time very interesting. I thought that the Force sensitive guy and the other guy like totally steal the show, as well as the droid voice. Yeah, Baze, and Chirrut, right? Way more interesting. I felt like they totally wasted Forrest Whitaker in that movie because he comes in with all of this pre-assumed lore that then they set up in other things.
Sure.
But when you get it in Rogue One, it's like, okay, like I want this to be more interesting.
Well, have you watched Rebels? Have you watched Clone Wars? Have you watched the whole?
So Clone Wars, I couldn't stomach because of Ahsoka calling Anakin Annie.
I mean, everyone called him Annie. Come on.
I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I watched I went to the theater and saw the Clone Wars movie.
Great.
And that put me off of ever watching Clone Wars.
Them calling each other Snips and Sky Guy? Come on.
And I hated that. I hated the baby, the Jabba the Hutt, the baby Hutt thing. Sure. That I hated that so much. I hated that more than I hated Jar Jar for some reason.
Oh God, I'm leaving. We're done. We're out. Let's go.
But I went into Rogue One, and I love that they had the balls at the end of Rogue One to basically kill off everyone. Okay, I get it. Like I loved that. I hated the CGI'd Tarkin. Like I feel like they just never needed to show Tarkin's face. They could have just had the back of his head. I would have been fine. That's Tarkin that they're talking to. The Vader scene, right at the end of Rogue One, is freaking iconic. But Andor made me care about a character, and I need to go back and now rewatch Rogue One that I've watched Andor and loved Andor. I went into Andor both feet, like ready to go. Like, give me Star Wars. I go into every Star Wars, especially live action. I go into every Star Wars thing like I want it. I want to have it. I need it. But Rogue One I thought was way overrated. And also, with the exception of like a half hour, I love Last Jedi. I know that that's really controversial also, because some people totally hate Last Jedi.
Well, people hate all of it for different reasons, right? You hate the prequels for this. You hate the sequels for this. You hate the animated. Like I hated Rebels when I first started watching Rebels because Clone Wars really gets you going, right? And then they do the last season of Clone Wars, which is definitely an upgrade because they had more production value or whatever it was. Then you go to Rebels, and Rebels feels like childish. Like the animation was just like, I don't even know.
Well, what's funny is I stopped watching Clone Wars really early, right? And especially after the movie, and then started watching Rebels later, after Rebels had been out. And I actually enjoyed Rebels. I think I've only seen is there 3 or 4 seasons of Rebels?
4.
Okay, so I've seen maybe 2.5 seasons of Rebels. I haven't gotten all the way through Rebels, but I've enjoyed.
there's
So
times with Rebels that I'm like, whatever. You know, like some episodes are better than others, but for the most part, like I really like the characters with Rebels and thought that was.
I'm watching Rebels a second time with him, and he's literally sitting there watching the TV throughout.
I love it.
There are some of my favorite moments in Rebels in Star Wars history.
Nice.
It's fantastic. It takes a minute, right? Especially Clone Wars is great. Clone Wars, watch Clone Wars, get through Clone Wars. It's got a lot of stuff that are really going to get up there in like Star Wars moments.
See, the thing is I found out way too late that I got out of Clone Wars before they brought Darth Maul back, you know, and before they set up all the Mandalorian stuff, you know,
I'll tell you, man, Filoni,
with Bo-Katan.
Filoni touched is amazing.
Yeah, no, Filoni's a genius. I will give Dave Filoni like mad love, mad props, right? Because
the fact that he's cherry picking from Legends, right? Like Disney takes over, and Disney's like, look, here's all the shit you love. We're just gonna go over here and make it Legends doesn't count anymore. And Filoni's like, yeah, but I'm gonna take all this really cool shit that you guys aren't taking as canon, and I'm gonna bring it right back into our faces and make it awesome. And he's doing that every chance he gets, and it's awesome.
So what's funny though, Nix, you talk about not liking the prequel. I like the last trilogy more than I like the prequels, mostly because they're concise and don't ramble as much. Now, Last Skywalker's got a lot of problems, but I do, dude. I'm just gonna tell you, I'm a big Rian Johnson fan. I like a lot of what he did with Last Jedi. I do. That end scene, that final scene with like the battle with like the salt planet, like visually, that stuff is amazing. I hate all the casino stuff. I have loved Benicio del Toro ever since I saw him in the Usual Suspects in like the late 90s. Benicio del Toro has been one of my favorite actors.
There it is. There you go. Yeah, DJ, don't join. I have a problem with Johnson saying, here's everything you created in 7. I'm just going to not pay attention to it and throw it right out the window and make my own thing. And then they got to come back in 9 and fix all the shit they wanted. Like, it was a misstep on their part to be like, oh, we're going to get this other person to come in. And that other person is like, I don't give a shit about what you did. I'm going to do my own thing because now I have the platform. And a lot of it was visually beautiful. Crate and the salt, awesome. And that whole thing, there were really, really cool moments, and there were really, really atrocious moments.
So 100% agree. I feel like what they should have done, and I do not think that they did at all, is that when you approach the sequel, the sequel trilogy, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
You needed to have everything already bullet pointed out. We need X, Y, and Z to happen. We're going to set up Rey's past. You need to establish what Rey's past is, you know, here. We're going to talk about it in this movie, and then we're going to really like nail it down here. You need to have a start and an end point. And then the flourishes you want to add in the middle, great. You know what I mean? Like how you want to fill in all of that stuff, right? All the coloring, you know, but they clearly did not have an outline, right? And so they let Rian Johnson come in and just do whatever the hell he wanted. You know, he took all of the fan stuff, you know, like, oh, everybody was obsessed with what's Luke going to do with that lightsaber. You know, when you see Rey handing it to him at the end of Force Awakens, and Rian Johnson goes, screw you guys. Because the first thing Luke does is toss it over his shoulder and go, you know, F you, I don't care about this. Yeah. And then what does he do with Rey's parents? Oh, it doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter. Yeah. You know, and so then so again, right, like I was getting into right before I buffered, I love Benicio del Toro. I was so excited he was going to be in Last Jedi, and they totally wasted that character.
Yeah. Yep.
Totally wasted that character. They totally wasted the whole casino scene.
Yeah. But that doesn't need to be there. It doesn't need to be there.
And honestly, like they needed to give us more with Snoke. They set up Snoke to be the big bad, right, of the new trilogy. And then they just do nothing with him. Now, granted, that throne room fight scene, I love watching that fight scene just out of context. Like give me that fight scene. It's amazing. I love the Holdo maneuver. Like you give me that, like the choice of when she goes into hyper, speed through the Star Destroyer, and it's just silent, and it's like that weird, like negative Visually, that is one of my all-time favorite Star Wars moments visually because it blew me. Oh, I'm watching it in the theater and I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. This is amazing. Star Wars characters don't do this. Star Wars characters don't die like this. I was just like, this is freaking amazing.
But in that cool, and you're talking about whatever her name was, right? Taking the helm and going through the ship.
Yeah.
Why did you give that role to Akbar?
Sure.
Why doesn't Akbar sit in the seat and be like, you know what, everyone get the fuck out. I'm going to do this thing and it's going to kill everybody. Why do you let Akbar just go out in space and die like it didn't mean anything? Like it's just shitty decisions that Johnson made. And that I believe there was an outline. I think they went from 7 to 8 and been like, here, this is what I'm trying to do. And Johnson literally took the lightsaber and went, nope. It's very parallel to, I think, and again, I have no idea, but I think that's how it feels, right? Like Johnson was just like, yeah, I'm just going to do this thing and make it good luck with 9. Like,
so the only counter argument I have to that is how much, because the guy who directed Rogue One, didn't they fire him at the end and not let him do the edits in the final cut because they didn't like what he wanted to do?
Maybe.
So I think that, Disney has such a stranglehold,
sure,
for better or for worse. Now they're letting Filoni and Favreau, do amazing things. In my opinion, with Andor and Mandalorian,
all of it. Ahsoka is going to be amazing. Andor was
dude,
great.
I can't wait. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you're going to get a live action Rebels. You need to watch Rebels before Ahsoka.
Oh, I know, because when I started watching, or I remember seeing Rebels, Ahsoka was just starting to come back in, right? So
they've cast live action Sabine, they've cast live action Ezra. Like, you need to watch Rebels. Rebels is some of my favorite moments are from Clone Wars is great. The movies are great. The shows, the Netflix, the Disney Plus shows are great. Some of my favorite moments come from Rebels. It really is that good.
Right. Oh man, hold on. I will say that episode 7 does not invalidate the.
We know where you're going with that. Yeah. And I think I might agree. I don't, unless you can point at stuff that directly invalidates the original trilogy. I don't think I believe in that one either.
So yeah, I don't subscribe to that because I'll tell you why. Because Star Wars, especially the Skywalker stuff, is cyclical, right? It is, even in the prequel stuff, right? You have the rise and fall, of this family, of this bloodline. So it's all cyclical. So I could forgive Force Awakens because I feel like it was perpetuating sort of that cycle, right? You have these similar things that are just happening over and over, right? It's a wheel. It's doing the same thing. Yeah. So I will not say that. I do feel like Rise of Skywalker was like let's just slap some crap together and try to just do what we can with it.
How you don't make Rey Ben's twin, so now she actually is a Skywalker, not just assuming the name.
Yeah.
Like Ben Solo had a twin. You make that the twin. She doesn't know who she is. She finds out who she's Palpatine's granddaughter. Like, it seems so disconnected.
She should have been Obi-Wan's kid or granddaughter. She should have been Obi-Wan's kid.
I agree with Obi-Wan. I think there's when you learn about Obi-Wan's story and his love for Satine and all the stuff that he did against the Jedi Order, I know it totally makes sense.
He's right.
If they wanted to go with that whole story about her being a Skywalker and the rise of Skywalker, then she easily is Ben's twin and she is a Skywalker.
Right. And just should be.
Right.
But when you abandon that, you don't want to, tie her into Obi-Wan, and then you make her Palpatine's kid. And it's like, really? Like, I can get Palpatine coming back because there was that great, like, Dark Empire comic run, in the 90s where, like, it was just the Emperor has clones and clones and clones of himself. I get it. I'm down for that. Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be the same Palpatine that we saw, 30 years ago.
Sure.
Shouldn't be. And
I get that Snoke is a Palpatine clone, correct?
That's what I was hoping, but they never tell you anything, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
So Jedi Fallen Order is the game I'm like, I think on the last planet of that game. I haven't beat it yet.
I haven't started it yet, but I like that it's lore and I like that it's canon.
Yeah, I haven't beat it yet, but I do think that it's great that I do like a lot of what the Star Wars canon stuff is doing.
Yeah.
I like, again, right? The second that they said Thrawn in the Mandalorian, I'm like, sweet, you've got the greatest Star Wars villain of all time is now actually again canon.
Yeah. Yep.
But
just keep giving it in the hands of Favreau and Filoni. I'm
yeah.
They've done so much better stuff than any of the other stuff that's come. It's just amazing.
And I will say, and here's my problem with the prequel trilogy is the original trilogy. Now, granted, I was born in 78, so I believe it was somebody in here had said they were born in 75. So like Star Wars, old school Star Wars was like their stuff. And I get it.
Yep.
So being a kid that saw Empire and Jedi in the theater, that was George Lucas with constraints. That was George Lucas with Steven Spielberg and other people, Irvin Kershner, you know what I mean? Like saying, hey, we should do this and we should do this. And these are ideas and you had limitations. And then you got the prequels where he had nobody telling him no. Yeah. You had George Lucas just doing whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was the real problem with that. Like there's great moments in all of those movies, but I could take probably the first two movies, cut them down into one movie that I really like. And then there's a lot, then I could probably just cut a half hour, 45 minutes off of Return of the Sith and make a movie I really like. Cause I think Return of the Sith might be my favorite of the prequel trilogy, just because some of the stuff it does.
Yeah.
I mean, hell,
the best of the prequels for sure.
If you took out the Tarzan yell that Chewbacca does in Return of the Sith, and then Vader going no out of Return of the Sith, and maybe Padme dying from being sad, you take those out of Return of the Sith, way better movie. It's
for sure.
Those are like my only real three complaints with the Revenge of the Sith or Return of the Sith or whatever. But the Clone Wars and Phantom Menace, you could really like jam into, more of a thing. Hi, Luca. I thought he was waving for a second. Looked like he was waving.
He was.
But it's because I talk with my hands. I might as well be Italian. I talk with my hands. Too much. And next, I hate sand.
You can definitely condense them, but it would be such a picky thing to like what do? You take out Jar Jar? Like there's still
I take out the pod race, to be honest. The whole
awesome.
I hated the pod race so much. Well,
1999, like Lucas gets to do something that he wanted to do and knew that he was constrained to the technology of the time, and he had this idea of this really cool race scene that's like it's pretty neat, right? The sound on the big screen.
Now, the sound design's amazing. I will give you the sound design is amazing, but I think I hated all the
people just picking them off as they're coming around the turn.
Well,
like, being assholes, like it's great.
I like that part too. See, here's the problem: is you're pointing out things that I liked about the pod race, but I am a huge fan of Whose Line Is It Anyways. But having Greg Proops as the announcer,
oh my god, yeah, get out of that, yep.
And making it like jokey, and then there's really, really terrible child actors right before Anakin gets in the thing. There's like the Rhodian kid, there's the other kid,
Baby Greedo,
yeah. Their dialogue is so just cringy and terrible,
and Jar Jar getting electrocuted in his tongue. And
you just don't, you don't need all of that. And I don't even really hate Jar Jar. It's just they could have just not made it as cheesy.
Sure.
I think you can have things. You can have things. Oh, thanks, David. You can have things that appeal to kids that are still not grating on adult ears. Like Rebels, for example. Saying
that you would remove the pod racing from the movie is your opinion, and you can be wrong. You can be wrong. I think you can condense that whole thing and remove some of that bullshit content, like Jar Jar getting electrocuted and all of that stuff. But
Agreed.
the moment where Qui-Gon uses the Force to affect the die,
love it.
That really says a lot about Qui-Gon, and like Qui-Gon's a little bit of a shady character, right? Like he was never on the council. Obi-Wan says something like, if you've done certain things, you'd be like on there. Like he's that type of character, and we get that when he uses the Force in a way that he really shouldn't. So there's a lot of that stuff that like it's important, you know?
Right. And so, hey, Brian, good night, dude. Thanks for coming on and like hanging out with us, dude. It was great. Thank you for all the comments. So happy to have you over here. So yeah, good night, man. Have a good night. And then Pablo, that's hilarious. Cause so you know what, Mike, you have made me not recant, but maybe edit and rethink my approach to episode 1 after 4 years of crapping on it. Is that yes, there are aspects of that whole segment of the movie, but I think for me it was always easy. It's like, well, if you take out that half-hour block of the movie, it tightens it up a lot. But there are I agree. I like the aspect of the Sand People, but one thing I think I had a problem with is it's like, oh, hey guys, remember Jabba the Hutt? Like, here's Jabba the Hutt, like overseeing the sand, or overseeing the pottery. Like, you don't always need all of that.
No, I agree. I think you condense it, but I don't think you remove it.
I would take out the commentator. Again, I love Greg Proops. I love Whose Line Is It Anyways? But I would take out like all of that. Yeah. Like, I don't need any of that.
That is a great example of George Lucas being his own writer and paying for the movie out of his pocket, where something like Jar Jar was like $2 million, and he paid for the entire thing himself. He's like, no, guys, I got this. No, George. No, you don't. No. You do your creative world building. Let us do the thing. And it's just a great example of he shouldn't have been like, he broke loose of the collar, right? And he's like, I got this.
Right.
3 does better, right? They do better with 3. And there's still stuff, again, you can condense a lot of 3, because the moment where like we meet when Luke takes off Vader's helmet, right? And you see the scar. As a fan, you know how he got whooped up, right? You know that there's going to be this epic thing coming, and going into 3, going, oh shit, we're gonna see the fight with.
Yeah. I knew going into 3, like the battle on Mustafar, like I knew it was a volcano, like a lava planet. I'm living for that moment. Like I am in the theater for that moment. Yeah. I get it. Nick's midichlorians, terrible idea.
Yeah, terrible idea. They brought him back too, right? They brought him back in the series. Like they're talking about the M count and stuff. They're still hinting at the midichlorians.
Yeah, but it's such a but to have Anakin like, well, he had no father, like stupid.
Right, but that's Palpatine manipulating the Force and creating Anakin, because that's the thing, right? All of Star Wars episodes 1 through 6 is the life and death of Anakin Skywalker.
Correct.
That's it. And if you look at it, and you can watch it 2 ways, right? You can meet Darth Vader and then find out how he became Darth Vader, or you can watch this young kid get fucked his entire life and put down and ridiculed and become like this pawn. It's awesome. It's awesome, awesome stuff. And to think that Palpatine created it because of his thing.
Right.
Plagueis, or was it Palpatine?
No, I think Plagueis was gone before. I thought Plagueis was already gone. I thought, but maybe I'm wrong.
Palpatine killed his master, which was Plagueis. I don't think Plagueis planted. I don't think Plagueis was the reason for Anakin. I guess there's fan theories, but I think it's Palpatine.
Right.
That did.
And so Bob, this is my buddy Bobby. Bobby says last 20 minutes of episode 1 is amazing. I will say, as long as those 20 minutes contain the Darth Maul battle. I do not love the Anakin in the ship Oh, whoops. What's this do?
Yeah.
I hate that crap.
They said to stay in the ship.
Yeah.
Well, the duel of the fates is more important than people think, right? Like the dark side won. The duel of the fates is the dark side winning. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not Obi winning. It's the dark side winning.
Right. I'm going to shift over to a bad mic for a minute because my phone is going to die. I'm going to have to plug it in. But so my sound won't be as good, but I am still in it to win it for a while because I just got a charge. But I'm going to switch over to my AirPods, see if that helps. But yeah, the Darth Maul, episode 1
Yep.
of all time.
We lost you there for a minute. You went on silent.
Yeah, I might have switched over as it switched. Darth Maul, in my opinion, is one of the most iconic Star Wars villains of all time. I mean, Maul, like his look is great, and I just, from what I know of, without having watched, when they brought him back, and stuff, is like, gimme. Give me more.
Bringing him back in Rebels, when we meet him in Rebels, like, dude, I'm telling you, he's a great character, and they did such a great job in creating him again. It's awesome.
And yeah.
And now, yes, you are crackly. To David's point, you are crackly.
Am I better without the AirPod? Am I less crackly?
No crackle.
Okay. All right. Well, we will go without the AirPod. We'll go no crack-a-lackin'. We'll try this out, see how it works. But like now David says Annie didn't have enough reason to turn full Darth. Here's the other fundamental flaw with episode 1 is why do you need Padme to be like 6 years older than or I don't know, whatever the age difference is. It's a lot.
Yeah, sure.
It's a lot. You could have had Padme Amidala in episode 1 without her being the love interest. You could have introduced the love interest in episode 2. Have it be somebody else or one of the handmaidens that's younger.
I would argue in episode 1 that Padme is the love interest of a young boy. And it's not until episode 2 that Anakin becomes the love interest of Padme.
So you're just saying it's like a young kid's crush, and then she just starts, he grew up to be a hunky dude.
Well, look at what she says when he's all nervous in the elevator, right? And Obi's kind of sensing it, and he's like, just be mindful, like, love is not a thing that the Jedi do, right? And then she sees him for the first time. She goes, man, how you've grown.
Oh, like, right, yeah.
There's the moment, right? It's kind of like in episode 2 where Jar Jar starts talking and Padme's like, look, I don't have time for you. And the camera hovers on Jar Jar just a little extra where you see his face go, like they shut him up because they know what happened in episode 1 with him talking. And Padme's like, look, just shut up. Like, we're not listening to you anymore. And there's that one moment they're like, okay, I kind of get what's going on. Those little moments, they're subtle, but they make a big difference. Just like Padme saying, how you've grown, or whatever the quote is.
Sure.
She now sees him for the first time, all grown up, right?
I understand your point, but I feel like it could have been handled better. I feel like he wrote himself into a corner, like, he set himself up, and I want to have this actress, and everything.
Look at Luke and Leia, right? Siblings kissing. What?
Yeah, you cannot tell me that Lucas had the whole trilogy planned out when he started, because he clearly did not.
No, it's kind of the missteps that go along with what he was trying to create, right? It happens.
Yeah, and he's retconning, right? He's trying to retcon his own stuff. But I feel like by the time you get to the prequels, you need to have all your ducks in a row.
You would think so.
And Joel, I agree. The thing is the prequels. There's a lot of parts of the prequels that I actually absolutely love, and as an Obi-Wan fan, right? It's just that's why Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith are like great movies for me as an Obi-Wan Kenobi fan, because I get to watch Obi-Wan go around and like do stuff and really see that character develop.
Dude, watch Clone Wars. You see General Kenobi. You watch him do all of the stuff. He does all of the stuff. And in addition, you see more of Anakin being manipulated. Then you see Anakin and Ahsoka. And then you grow to love Ahsoka. Like, it's so pivotal. That series is so pivotal to watch.
Sure. I'm going to have to go back and just deal with it.
You have
get over the Sky Guy BS, because
it becomes such a term of endearment when he's calling her Snips and she's calling him Sky Guy. And then you find, like, when you get into Rebels, and there are some moments in Rebels where, like, knowing their history and how close they were it's heartbreaking when you go through. It's absolutely unbelievable.
All right. Listen, Filoni has not led me wrong yet, right? Like, once I've understood. And yeah, David, I think you're right. David makes a really good point. Whatever age you are when you come into Star Wars is going to be your Star Wars.
Sure.
Whether it's the new stuff, whether it's the prequels, because the original trilogy, right, is slower. It's slower paced. It's not as exciting, I also have the unpopular opinion that, like, Return of the Jedi is not really, like, I would rank that lower than some of the other, newer movies.
For sure.
Just because I don't, especially, holy shit, once they went back and redid the digital editions, and then Lucas went back and added stuff to Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is almost unwatchable with the extra Jabba scenes, with the slice noodles. Like, extended song sequence, like,
awful. Well, like when Han's stepping on his tail and everything. So that's the thing with Star Wars, right? You can look at each movie, no matter how good the movie is. You can look at Empire, and Empire is probably arguably the best of the 9 live action ones, right? You can look at it and be like, oh man, that should go. Like, that's not good. And it's in every movie, right up to episode 9. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it as almost like a series, right? Like a Disney Plus series, right? You can look at episodes of Mandalorian that are better than other episodes of Mandalorian. You could look at episodes of Boba Fett, and unfortunately, the best episodes of Boba Fett are the ones with the Mandalorian. But you can look at episode 5, Empire, and you can look at Return of the Jedi, and you can look at episode 3, and look at them in moments, in storyline, in importance. They're not all great, and none of them are perfect.
Right.
But man, some of them have the most iconic and epic, important moments in Star Wars lore, right? Right down to the Clone Wars movie, 2.5, epic. The series, some of them are not very good. I've argued on the show with Chris about underwater lightsabers. I think that's shit. I don't understand how that all works. I don't get it. I don't like those series. There's another series with this general that's just a dick that just turned me off to it, but everything else about it is so epic. So you can look at it, and if you look at it in a different way and look at an overarching story, any story has shit. But man, there are moments in some of those things that are just, it wouldn't be the same without.
Right. I would say what up to Steve real quick. Hey, Steven, we burned through our top 5. We got derailed like right at between 2 and 1, basically, into Star Wars stuff, and then finished our list, came back just to do Star Wars stuff. But what's up, man? And Ginger, Jonathan, I know, right? EU, some of the old was Timothy Zahn, like some of those Timothy Zahn novels, that EU stuff, when you thought nobody else was going to get, when you're not going to get any more Star Wars movies, when you thought you were just with the original trilogy. And then when he did the extended editions, I remembered I had a buddy that worked at a movie theater locally, and he's still one of my best friends. And he got me into the midnight screenings that were just for the employees. So I got to go to all of those a day early. Nice. And then I bought tickets to go see it the next day because I'm that big of a nerd. But it was like, I was so excited for those and didn't care, like even all the extra stuff that they added, where it's like, oh, well, I was just excited to see that stuff then. But now when you've got it, like when you can like take a step back and you can like try to enjoy the story and for what it is. you know, like you see the flaws in some of that and why it was left out.
For sure.
Yeah, Wayne.
I think that's where Filoni comes in, right? Filoni is up on all of that lore, and Filoni can take on stuff and all the stuff that's legend now. That's really important to like somebody's comment about Mara Jade. Like, I'd be surprised if we don't see Mara Jade soon, right? Because that's epic. Like, that's got to be something that's brought. Whether that's the Knights, I mean, it could be anything. It could be anything that we love, and it's gonna show up.
You could do the sisters. You could do, you know, the Inquisitors or whatever.
Yeah, the argument every time we have something Star Wars is always on a sand planet. You can go to the sisters, right, and start talking about, like, I mean, there's so many things you can go to. It's unreal.
Yeah. You've got Dathomir now. You've got, especially with now that the Fallen Order is canon. You know, like everything that they're putting out now, they're saying is canon, right?
Have you seen you haven't even seen Maul's brother then, have you? Dude! Tell him to watch it. Tell him to watch. Dude, you have to watch them. We meet Darth Maul's brother. Like, there's a whole storyline on Death. It's you got to watch Clone Wars and then watch Rebels. It's going to be a massive jump in animation though, going from Clone Wars the 8th season to Rebels. Just be ready for it. Look at the story. It's unreal.
The animation won't bother me at all as long as the story's good. I'm a comic book guy, so I can go from different artists. I can handle that. You know, like I don't need everything to be amazing or the same or whatever.
Sure.
Hi. So, but
how you doing?
Oh my God, I remember Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Holy shit, I read that.
Oh yeah,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, a little bit.
But that's when, you know, there was there's the original trilogy, and then I had all of these role-playing game books and like the supplemental books and a few of the Dark Horse comics. And I'm trying to, like, you know, my buddies and I are just trying to put together the lore and the backstory. You know, because I don't even know if we knew that at that time that Vader and Obi-Wan, I think we knew that they fought, and Obi-Wan was the reason that Vader was in like the life support suit. I don't think we knew it.
While you're frozen, I think Ginger, you were talking about the dark side as a tool for desire. Canon respects it to a degree, and I agree with you that they don't respect it enough, but I think they do. The desire for power, the desire for love, the Anakin's desire to not let anyone he loves die, like because of his loss of his mother. I think there's a little bit there. It's a very small slice of a Venn. You don't agree? It's a very small slice of a Venn diagram. I think they do enough. They don't do enough. I mean, to your point, great point.
But yeah, on YouTube you can find a Thrawn story. Nice.
I can't wait for live action Thrawn.
Oh, dude, I can't wait either. I read the old Thrawn trilogy. I haven't read the new Thrawn book.
And you haven't seen Rebels, so.
And yeah, I haven't seen him in Rebels yet. But I know he's coming.
You have some homework to do, buddy.
Yeah, that's all right. I like homework. I don't mind. I've been
before Ahsoka. Just do it before Ahsoka.
Yeah, that's the thing is I've got to because and Ahsoka was one of the reasons when she popped back up in The Mandalorian was one of the reasons why I even went back and like started digging into Rebels because I knew that she popped into Rebels and was like, okay, like I got to get current, like and figure out, you know, where she is and why she is the way, you know.
Yeah, but there's so much story in the Clone Wars that you haven't even like touched on with her and her character. She's arguably my favorite character in Star Wars.
Nice.
She's that good. She's that important, and she's that. Obi is great. Obi, I kind of blame for the whole reason Anakin is who he is because he's constantly belittling him and putting him down, and then you come in with Palpatine to kind of do the final blow. But Ahsoka's character from Clone Wars through, she is by far one of my favorites in the entire lore.
I love it. It's great. That's great. That's the thing, right? Is like the because when you got the shows and they give you these awesome representations of these characters, and it's like, oh, now I need to go back and look. Now I'm gonna because again, right? Mandalorian, they brought in Bo-Katan again, right? Clone Wars, like a character completely, and her whole story I know is from Clone Wars, right? And the whole thing with the Darksaber, they bring in the Darksaber again, right? Oh, you got to get into Clone Wars, and then why does because I think the girl from Rebels has it, right? Doesn't she for a minute?
Sabine?
Yeah.
Sabine wields it for a minute. Yeah, she gets it for a hot minute. I mean, Darth Maul has it for a minute.
Right.
Like, we got Din with it now. Sabine's had it. Bo-Katan. Like, it's definitely passed around, right? What's his name? Gideon's had it.
Yeah. Yeah, like
there's a version of him with the Darksaber. I have it up there on top of my Marvel United X-Men. You're not gonna see it, but up there, there's a box version of him that he's holding the Darksaber.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really good?
Yeah, Grogu.
Yeah.
Say it.
Let's see. She starts off annoying for a reason. Oh, okay. I see. Okay, Andrew. Listen, you and Mike, you guys have already all convinced me. I'm gonna go back. Mike, do you remember where she turns her lightsabers white? Is it in a book or is it in the cartoon?
Need to find the bit where she turns the lightsabers white. It's book. It's not. I don't think that happens in the series. I don't think it happens in the series. I'll ask Chris because he knows more about it than I do. I think it's book related.
And I play there's like 2 or 3 like phone apps that I play all the time. And Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is one of them. And it's just got like a metric crap ton of, like all the rando Star Wars characters and things like that you can play, and you level up and you put them in your, you're gonna fight people with and stuff.
Yeah.
And
there he goes. Yeah, I'm curious how much of the video game stuff, whether it's RPG or not, or PC or not, like console or PC, is canon now.
But I think Galaxy of Heroes, like, they only use canon characters.
Nice.
So
that makes sense. There's Evan. Hey, Evan, I saw you text me. I haven't checked it yet. But yes, to your text, which I just checked, yes, the board game rundown is still going on. He sent me a text. I got to look at a game of his, and we said we do it maybe tonight, depending on how long, because we could tend to talk for a minute, right?
Yeah, we can. I won't keep you too much later because I do need to work in the morning. But
sure, yeah.
But
we won't have a 4-hour marathon. It's okay.
No,
he's driving me crazy because he's super fussy. So
not this time. Not this time. But yeah, I mean, we could if we wanted to. If we wanted to.
100%.
And now I don't know who the Lost Tribe is. So if Mike, I don't know if you know that, but if you want to add your opinion there.
I think if Filoni keeps doing what he's doing, and he keeps going back to bits of legend that are important and epic, he should bring in the Lost Tribe.
Okay, there you go. And hey, Portland Game Crap, that's Evan?
That's Evan, yeah.
Right on, man. Hello. And yeah, no, it's terrible. It's so terrible. It's like my worst. It's the thing I hated the most out of episode 3.
There are two bits I can't excuse. I'll excuse Jar Jar. I can excuse the missteps with the kissing sisters and all that, or kissing siblings.
Yeah.
Not giving the Wookiee the medal in A New Hope.
Famously a bad idea. Yeah.
So I like that they retconned it, and you had Maz give him the medal after Han, right? And you see Chewie's face. You feel Chewie's emotion in that moment, right? Like, that was awesome. And the other, unfortunately, and they both happen with Chewbacca, when we get back to the planet and Han has since passed, right? You have Leia and Han, Leia and Chewie. Leia's already on the planet. Chewie is coming off the ship, right? And they just pass each other, and they don't talk or touch or do anything. Like Leia and Han were together for the better part of 50 years, right? So Leia knows Chewie. And if you think about the moment where Chewbacca sees Kylo kill Han, Chewbacca's known Kylo since he was a baby, right? Because him and Han had been so close. So he's known Kylo since he was a kid. He's been with Han for that entire time. And to have Chewbacca and Leia pass without even like a hand on the shoulder, I was so infuriated at the moment that Leia decided to go to Rey instead of Chewbacca after the better part of a century. Like, come on. And they both just screwed Chewbacca. Like, really? He's been as important as anyone else in the series, and you just do him dirty like that? Like, come on.
Huge missteps.
Unreal. Can't forgive him.
All right, so let's wind down just because I see Luca's ready. He's ready. He's tired of my face, and I get it. My wife is too. What's your favorite Star Wars movie and what's your least favorite? Doesn't mean you got to hate it. Or what's your least favorite Star Wars visual medium?
I can't, man. I can't.
What's one of your favorites? Favorites and least favorite?
Rebels is my favorite.
Okay. So
if I were to take them all, if I were to put live action, like the 9 movies, you can separate them into trilogies, right? Prequels,
sure,
original, and whatever. If I were to take all the live action, just a live action, and throw in Clone Wars, not only the movie, but the series, and Rebels, I would say Rebels by far. Oh, he's tied up. I think if you start throwing in Mandalorian and Andor, it starts getting fuzzy because there's so many. Like I said, the Luthen speech is one of my favorite moments in Star Wars, right? We get a moment with Obi and Maul in Rebels. Maul's been hunting down Kenobi for how long, right? They finally get to meet again. And that moment is epic. When Ahsoka sees Anakin again, right? After all that time, and Anakin's like, that moment is epic. There's so many moments in again, I look at Star Wars as moments in this whole thing, not specifics. Really hard to do specifics. Buddy man.
Oh, poor guy.
We're almost done. I know. He just wants to go up and watch Trash Truck or Dave Matthews. Or you want to watch Star Wars because all we're doing is talking about Star Wars? Yeah, what's that? Star Wars. Yep. I know. I see it too. Say hi. What about you? What would you? Can you say you have a favorite movie?
No, I can't. I got favorite moments. I mean, the easy answer is Empire. I love Empire like everybody else. It's dark. It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
It's easy. Yeah.
Okay. How about I do you one better? Who's your favorite Star Wars character? Just pick a character. Who's your favorite? Ahsoka's your favorite? Okay. I always bounce between Luke and Obi-Wan. Lately, more it's been Luke. It just depends on the day.
And you can be wrong. It's fine.
Well, I just like that Luke when he stops being the whiny kid and like starts to discover himself. And I even like later Luke. I like, screw it, Luke. I'm over it in Last Jedi, which everybody hates. And even Mark Hamill hates. Mark Hamill does not like where Skywalker went. But I kind of appreciated the journey of that character where it's like this whole thing blew up in my face. I'm done with it. And then Rey comes along and then he has that badass moment at the end. I know people hate it that exertion of the Force killed him. Oh, he just disappears. No, I get it. Like you channel so much and you use so much energy. For me, it made sense. And to just do it in such a, like, I love the subtle foot shift in the sand. You know what I mean? Like that whole battle scene.
Yeah.
Just like put Luke. And I think Luke is like the first Harry Potter kind of thing where you think you're this nobody and then you aspire to these great things. And then Luke is that everyman, like where somebody is going to like swoop into your life and now you're able to reach your full potential.
Sure.
I get it. I love Luke. David, no, Han's the best, dude. Han is amazing. When I was a kid, you could not convince me that Han Solo and Indiana Jones were the same person because they were my 2 favorite people on the planet. I get it.
It's tough. It's tough because especially growing up when these were characters of our childhood, right? Like Han, Chewie, Leia, 3PO, R2. Like I would argue that I really love R2 as a character, and if not for R2, we wouldn't have a lot of this.
You don't have anything.
No,
R2...
he saved the ships numerous times. Like he's been a pivotal character to propel the story and save everyone else at all different times. I would argue that Chopper is on par with R2. I think
Chopper's badass. I love Chopper.
His attitude and everything is so great with on par with R2 at so many different moments. But I think they all present an argument to be the best, right? And you gravitate towards certain ones. I can't get over Luke's whininess. I love Luke in Return of the Jedi and that whole thing with his father. Like, it's great, right? And you got to kind of see this journey of episodes 4, 5, and 6 is Luke's journey. And then you get episodes 1 through 6 is Anakin's journey. And you can argue, like, Anakin's what a great story to watch Anakin grow up and go through all of that stuff and be manipulated constantly. And it's amazing. But I'll tell you, man, when you start going through, you watch Clone Wars and you see what happens and you start questioning the Jedi Order and you get into Rebels, man, Ahsoka she's awesome. Badass.
Well, so I loved her Mandalorian. I also loved, though, when Luke came in, obviously, in the Mandalorian. It was amazing. One of the, again, like top 5 Star Wars moment for me is when he shows up and you're just like, yes. Yeah. Evan, right? Evan, like, I think this has colored my perspective a little bit on, Han Solo, is that Harrison Ford is famously grumpy and kind of a jerk, where Mark Hamill is the opposite, right? Correct. Of that. Mark Hamill, maybe in like the late 80s, early 90s, was less excited to be known as only Luke Skywalker. But Hamill has now done so many other things and is loved for it, like all his Batman stuff, right? Hey? Yeah. But
arguably the best Joker.
But 100%, in my opinion.
Ledger's really great. But Hamill's great.
But it's a different animal, almost apples and oranges, right? But Mark Hamill has just done so much to embrace the people around him and and the fanhood and everything. I just will always have a love for Mark Hamill. Where Harrison Ford's abrasiveness has kind of pushed me away a little bit. I still love the dude, and I think he's an amazing actor, incredible actor, and is 2 of my favorite all-time cinema characters. Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my all-time favorite movies, hands down. Indiana Jones up there for me. But yeah, because Harrison Ford is sort of notoriously kind of a jerk to people in public.
How do you feel, talking about Harrison Ford? How do you feel? And I can't see him as any other character. It's really weird. How do you see Red Hulk?
What do you mean Red Hulk?
They cast Harrison Ford as Ross.
What?
Yeah. No. Because the actor passed away. So they had to
I guess that's true. Yeah, William Hurt. So they put.
It's Harrison Ford.
They casted Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt.
Yep.
I mean, it makes sense. You're gonna have a guy come in and be an asshole. It makes sense.
Is he gonna have a mustache? Like, it's gonna be weird to see, right?
Maybe. Holy crap! All right, you just blew my mind. I got some stuff to think about now.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Wow. Right? All right, guys. Well, on my mind being blown, on that note, I'm gonna let Mike and Luca escape from this. But hey, Mike, I know we didn't have our normal co-host other Mike on, but Mike, you did a fantastic job, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate being on here. I'm sorry if he's being a bit of a distraction to everyone watching.
I don't care. I got little ones. I love it. I miss my boy being that age. I mean, I'm glad I don't have to change his diaper anymore, but I still have to go in and wipe his butt. So I get it.
Well, when you come to Syracuse, I'm sure I'll have one for you.
No doubt. But no, Mike, I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been fantastic. Did not disappoint.
Anytime.
Really great list.
Happy to be part of it. You guys are great. I love you guys. Whether you're trying to derail us on our show or you have an opening for me anytime, I'd love to be here.
And to be fair, I don't know that Mike Rice could have hung with the Star Wars conversation like we had. So it might have been better that he got to rest up tonight. So
yeah, it would have looked like for the past 45 minutes that he was just buffering. Like he would have just had a stone face straight on. Yeah.
It would have.
Love you, Mike. Love you, Mike. Hope you're feeling good if you're watching.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thank you so much for everybody that hopped on. I really appreciate y'all, especially the guys from the everybody that came over, all y'all that came over from Full 42 to come over and visit, whether you were actual hosts or just hang out on their channel on Mondays, which everybody should. It was great to see y'all. And Mike, we're gonna, this will not be the last time. It wasn't the first time, and it definitely won't be the last time. So,
I mean, let me know about next week. I mean, just saying, if you have an opening on Wednesday and you want to talk about stuff that Chris isn't talking about, I'm in.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, we got to get Chris on too. Well, and Katya, but yeah.
Sure,
so yeah, man. Well, we'll be in touch. We got a text thread going on. It's all good. But all right, guys. So for the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
I've been Mike. This has been Luca.
Yeah. And that's been Luca. Check out Full 42, and we will see you next Wednesday or Monday if you go over to their channel like you should and check it out.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a great night.